We're live on YouTube. If you're watching, you can see Scoy seeing how many caramel whatever's it can get in his gob at one time. Hello, one and all. Welcome to 4020 Live. Well done to Jamaica. They're the latest team in the old World Cup. We've got some merchandise. We've got a very full table of tat this weekend, which I think gives us a little bit of an insight into Richard Shawwright's life, because every week there's more tat on the table of tat. We'll be talking all about a busy week for some clubs in the transfer market. Some big names coming to Super League. That's fantastic. We're going to be discussing some possible rule changes. We say possible because I haven't heard anything about them. I thought I missed an email, but maybe I haven't. I don't know. We'll have a look at that. How would you improve the game as a whole? What would you do to make it better? What do you think of Magic Weekend in Liverpool? And what do you make of the summer bash? Could be going to Bradford? Bradford? Do me a favour. Eh? Come on. What do you think about that? Surely the league, the championship clubs do not want to be going to Bradford. Get in touch as ever at 4020 Live. We'll be having a look through the latest 4020 magazine as well with Phil. Sco is here, the legend. Phil Kaplan is here, editor of 4020. And Richard, collector of tat, is here as well.
Indeed.
So you can get in touch via YouTube. You can get in touch on Twitter. You can get in touch via the Facebook page as well. If you are watching, listening, whatever, please do share or do whatever you need to do.
Sorry, I was going to go in front of the YouTube.
Because Richard's broken something. But there you go, we are live. So want me intro on Facebook then?
Nah, but they don't know.
Yeah, they're not bothered. Hello, good evening and welcome. We're here live. Let's crack on. We've done the... Want to know your thoughts on the Magic Weekend move it to Liverpool. We also want to know your thoughts on the summer bash potentially being in Bradford.
I can't wait. I'm going to book my hotel.
Well, I'll tell you what, if it is at Bradford and...
That's what... I mean, I'm only going off what's in the
well,
press.
I'm just saying, listen, if it's at Bradford, I hope they change the steward, because when I've been there a couple of times, it's been hard work bloody getting through the doors, I'll tell you, getting through the gate. So
Curry capital of the world.
I hope the stewarding changes a little bit.
What are you going to do at Odsley if it rains? They've got that great stand. What happens if it rains?
No. You can't, surely it's not under consideration. It can't
I wouldn't have thought it could go to Odsley, bearing in mind Bradford will be one of the teams playing. I think there is some merit in people saying that it could well be going to Kingston Park in Newcastle.
Right.
Which obviously, with the Magic Weekend moving from Newcastle, would make some sense. And Newcastle, obviously, accruing a better standard of player for next year. They have ambitions to be in the Championship themselves, so you could see why that might work.
York as well, yeah. But surely
but York will be in the competition.
York, hasn't it?
Well, York would have a shiny new stand, will it, York?
Yeah, but
a new ground.
York's a good city as well. It's a good night out in York, so people can, enjoy the city itself.
Tranmere.
Why? What's the obsession with bloody Liverpool and Tranmere? What would want to go there? It's been
mentioned on the beach at Prenton Park.
We'll start off with the Magic Weekend then. It's moved.
It has moved.
Now I'm led to believe it's moved because Liverpool paid more money.
Yes.
Or the sport has got more money, so we fully understand that. And in some ways, if we've got to bite the bullet, then I respect it. Hopefully, the money's worth it, if you know what I mean. But it's disappointing, I think, that it's moving. But Anfield is a great stadium.
I think there's two things. One is Newcastle, as a city council, are putting a lot of money into marketing two significant rugby union games, I'm told. At round about the same time, they've got European Cup finals.
But I read something on their social media feed that said that's nothing to do with it.
Yeah, I think there is a limit to the amount of marketing budget they will give to rugby, and that next year they'd already committed to the rugby union. So Liverpool have offered more money than Newcastle. We're a commercial sport. You have to take into consideration the best bid on the table.
Yeah.
If you were a Super League owner or chairman, you'd be saying, right, well... I think the other thing from Liverpool's point of view is obviously they've had a taste of the Test match. They now have made a bid that's higher than any other bid on the table for Magic Weekend. They want to be part of the World Cup. So I think there is a plan within Liverpool. What the sport needs to do if it is going to Liverpool is make sure that there is something on Stanley Park for all the fans. Because it's a really 3 games is a hard watch wherever you go and watch it. And if it's Cardiff or it's Newcastle, you're in the city centre and you can go out and have a break and buy a sandwich. That's fine. If you can't do that at Liverpool because it's just too far from the very centre, then you've got to make sure there's loads of activity around the ground, and there is space to do that. I think anybody who's been saying that it's going to be difficult having the marathon there at the same time, I'm not sure it is. I think if you can ally two important events together,
but I think that does, Phil, though, is it says a lot of the hotels gone.
Absolutely,
and that's the problem. Are you then going to get people going for the day, which then kills the?
Well, you certainly
else?
are. If you were a Wigan or a Warrington or St Helens fan, I would imagine that you wouldn't want to stay over for the weekend at a place that's just down the road. So it changes the dynamic of what Magic Weekend is. But do we know what Magic Weekend is?
Mm-hmm. What do you reckon, Legend?
Well, I was fully in support of the Newcastle, wasn't I? I think Newcastle are absolutely ideal, not just with the stadium, literally 10 yards away from where everybody, the access where they can get to the city centre, i.e. we're just talking about, for the restaurants, for the bars, the pubs, the food and every sort of thing from there, and Newcastle was ideal. But I can understand it again, highest bidder and more money, which, as we're always saying, we want it to come into the game from there. But with Liverpool, as Phil just mentioned there, with the three sides, Wigan, Saints, Warrington fans, that'll take away, I would say, the atmosphere of after the game, in the city centre, the banter between the fans from there, so they won't be staying overnight. So, for me, should have been still Newcastle, understand the decision. I just hope plenty of people go out there and support it, because what I'm reading today in the League Express is what the gentleman was saying, why it's been, the guy from Newcastle at Newcastle Thunder saying, well, in Liverpool, they don't have any rugby league sides in there. They only have universities, so it's catching that catchment area. What sort of catchment area? Do we need to
get away from the myth, though, that the Magic Weekend is about getting new fans? Because in my opinion, you don't get any.
No, we don't get any. No, it doesn't get any. Doesn't get any.
There might be 1,000 or so that Cramlington bring out every
which
year.
Is great.
Yeah,
which is great, but it hasn't grown, has it?
But also, as well, Max, I was speaking to Phil over the weekend, and I was mentioning, like now, we talk about the game where we need to make them events, how we're going to get people there earlier and make it an event from there, the attractiveness, and we talk about promoting and marketing. And I was speaking to Phil over the weekend, because when you looked at the weekend with the Rugby Union, right, we just had a 3-match test series, 17,000, 26,000 and 32. Well, lad from Belial, I think that in my mathematics works it around.
Use the fingers.
Works it around about 75,000 people for 3 test matches, right? England against Japan, 81,000.
But you're not comparing like with like.
No, but what I'm saying is here, from our point of view, right? And then Murrayfield against South Africa, that was rammed. And then when you looked at Ireland and New Zealand, that was rammed. So my question is, how can they all get the full stadiums? Is it because the product's better, or the marketing, the promotion better? Because what I'm seeing, certainly from all international games, whether it's football or cricket from there, they seem to be sellouts. Why can we not get that? Because we've got a great product, as we keep saying, but we look at a 3-match test series, only 75,000 people. The Rugby Union, let's not forget, they're only playing Japan, and for the first 40 minutes it was absolutely garbage. So I was mentioning to Phil, so the people there then, they're not going for the product, they're going for the occasion and the event. So is it not what we should be looking at?
Well, we have proven over the last month that people in the Rugby League heartlands can't be bothered to go to games, even when the tickets cost £2 bob halfpenny because they're giving them away. I know there's no marketing, and the marketing needs to be sorted out. There's nothing to do around the ground, that needs to be sorted out. But at the end of the day, England played New Zealand in Hull, hotbed of Rugby League, 2 big sides, goldfish bowl, all that crap we keep being told.
There's 2 issues. One is that rugby union and cricket are international games that support the domestic. We are a club game that sometimes supports the international. You've got to change that dynamic.
Correct.
The other thing is the international calendar, which we were talking about at the weekend. If you next year want to be part of that Twickenham atmosphere, because you watched it on the telly and you don't really care what the end result is, you're probably not really bothered who they're going to be playing, you could book a ticket now. And you could probably book a ticket for the year after that as well. There are going to be 4 internationals in the autumn. There's going to be the 6 Nations beginning of next year. Does it matter if the game that you go to is the one where they play Japan or the one that play Australia? Not really. It's just being part of an event. You can get there early. You can sit out the back of your Range Rover and have your barbecue or whatever it is. You Pimm's in a glass.
Why aren't we doing this?
We don't have a calendar. We were saying last week that England had played at home for the first time for 2 years against New Zealand. So people have fallen out of the habit of going to international. The next time they can see England is in 2 years' time.
Well,
they will have fallen out of the habit.
But it's a joke though, isn't it?
Yeah. Again, the other big story of the weekend, and it sort of links into this, is Jamaica's qualification for the World Cup, which actually is potentially massive for the sport.
Yeah.
Because you're not talking about a nation, you're talking about a whole culture. And it's a culture that's already embedded in rugby league. There's a lot of history, and a lot of heritage players from here have gone over and made sure that for the first time ever a Caribbean nation has qualified for the World Cup.
Well, here's a question then. Given that Jamaica are going to be in the World Cup, where should someone now not be thinking, where do we need them to play rugby, whereby we're going to get a lot of new people coming?
The next thing to do, and this is again down to partly finance, but also Jamaica, is, I think Rich was there, we saw Jamaica play Wales at Wakefield. Brilliant 16-all draw.
Yeah.
Well, now that Jamaica have qualified, they theoretically don't have a lot of fixtures between now and the next World Cup. Somebody should be rearranging a match. But Wales are qualified as well, so they haven't got a lot inked in their international calendar. We should now be trying to, not we, they, the two nations, sanctioned by the RLIF, should be trying to set up a fixture where Jamaica play Wales at Wakefield, and maybe Jamaica play France, who have also qualified for the World Cup and haven't got some set fixtures, at somewhere like Headingley, and get the Caribbean communities now buying into rugby league.
That's what I'm
saying.
That's
something that we can do.
You know, there's a big Leeds Caribbean cricket club just down the
absolutely.
road here, isn't there? You know, there are pockets of that community that really we should be tapping
and they
into.
have a history with the sport. You know, they're not only great players, but you know, Hunslet is an area that is absolutely thick in the culture of the Caribbean. There are lots of people that we could now appeal to say, come on, over the next 3 years, back your boys who are going to be playing here in the World Cup. You know, there's a club down not far from where we are called Chapeltown Cougars, who are right in the middle of that area.
Well, that's what I think it's in the Cricket World Cup. I think it's Pakistan, Afghanistan's in Leeds. You can draw in the whole of the Asian community around West Yorkshire.
And I think that's why it's big, because this isn't a nation just qualifying, it's a whole culture.
Yeah, I get that.
So, you know, what do we do to get more people involved in rugby league and make them more events and upgrade internationals? Play more fixtures.
Yeah, well, it's a conversation we've had. I think the problem stepping in the way, and you mentioned it in your thing, I remember when Union had a huge club v country row, and it was civil war in rugby union, whereby clubs didn't want players to go, and then all of a sudden the pound notes get spoken about, and all of a sudden you can take who you want as long as you're paying for the game. And we've got to try and do it the same way. And we've said, if you say to the Super League clubs, we want to do X, Y and Z, and in return you're going to get £250,000 each, they would listen to what was being said.
And one of the other things that's going to change is the Challenge Cup. Now, the date's going to change, there's going to be additional... But what we found this week, which sort of got buried under the news of the Challenge Cup is going to change, is that the sponsor the RFL thought they had has not now come forward. Now, again, I just think, bring them in at international level.
Is this a new sponsor, or...?
Well, we don't know who it was because they didn't come to the table.
Because as I said to you last time, right, I am led to believe on very good authority that Ladbrokes last year paid next to nothing to sponsor the Challenge Cup. It is, I'm sorry to say it, but because there's no value attached to it, it has no value.
But I think
that's the problem we've got.
I think if you know that Jamaica are playing at the end of next year, there are sponsorship avenues that open up to you that the sport hasn't had before. So it's not only important from giving the guys the chance to... I mean, I watched the game between America and Jamaica. It was a fantastic game. Scoreless second half. So much commitment on both sides. Ashton Golding, man of the match, played hooker for the entire 80 minutes, which might be a key to where his future lies. Ben Jones-Bishop, brilliant. But all the lads who played. Ross Peltier off the bench, absolutely fantastic. Probably the player of the match, Lamont Bryan, who tried so hard that he cramped up towards the end, could barely walk off the field, but it meant everything to them. And I just think there will be people that will be prepared to get behind that. So an avenue of rugby league that, you know, maybe they're not interested in clubs so much anymore. Clubs need to find a way of tying into that.
All right, going back to Anfield then. Is the magic concept, is it done?
Well,
Is it time for it to go, or do we need to redefine it? We were speaking to someone in the game, a couple of weeks ago, who was saying that they were looking at the prospect of holding double headers and having a series of double headers. So, I don't know. For instance, Leeds and Cass would play somewhere with Wigan and Saints. So I don't know how they're going to do it. Look at doing that. Should we do that more now? Are we now? Do we just admit that we're not bothered about getting new fans? We're chasing the dollars. Do we just chase the money and say, right, we're going to go play at the Emirates because we feel if we go to the Emirates we could get a crowd, a minimum 30,000, hopefully sell it out. Do we need to do that?
I think it's more to do with what actually is the thinking behind Magic. So we've now got 10 years of evidence to say, has that grown as a new audience, or has it been the traditional rugby league audience going on holiday?
Yeah, you're just
which
fleecing.
There is nothing wrong with that.
Your own fans.
If that's the reason why you're doing it, then it shouldn't be an extra fixture. It has to be part of your... But I think, are there more imaginative ways of going on the road, which we did successfully in a previous incarnation?
I just look. Go on, you were going to make a point about the Magic.
Someone asked the same question, and my Facebook's broken, so I can't remember who it was. I think it was. It wasn't Bernard. It was Robert or someone.
Robert Elston.
Has it had its time? Has the Magic Weekend had its time? And if we look at, we're saying double headers or whatever, we've said it before. Take a Super League game and stick it alongside a game in League One. Maybe one of those clubs who's not allowed to play in the 1895 Cup because they're not northern enough or old enough or whatever.
Can I ask a question about that? Who has determined that not all the clubs can enter? Because I saw one of our esteemed journalistic colleagues went, "Oh, it's great! It gives everyone a chance to go to Wembley."
Is that one of the cheerleader people?
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. Because not all the clubs can enter. Surely they just have a preliminary round in and say, "Right, everyone's in. You're in there. Get on with it."
You would have thought. Also, you would have thought. So, I've read the piece as well. What Keith Senior said at the end. He backs it totally like we all do. But also as well, what about the ridiculous thing that it might be played? The game might be played after the Challenge Cup final. Well, what's all that about? Who's going to stay and watch that?
Well, exactly.
It's ridiculous. Ridiculous.
I think the issue is they want 16 clubs. So they've got 14 at the moment in League One, but Toronto and Toulouse are not entering.
Right.
There are logistical difficulties. They also might be the two teams that would go quite far in the Challenge Cup as well, as indeed could Widnes, who... But... So the first logistical difficulty is, how do you ensure that a club doesn't get into both finals? Well, I think at the moment that means the 1895 semis will be after the Challenge Cup semis, so that you can make an adjustment if you need to, if there is a team that...
Right.
The problem with that is there's only 2 weeks between the semi-finals and the final. So the 1895 semi-finalists will be playing virtually a week before going to Wembley.
When am I going to knock up my Coventry Bears are off to Wembley t-shirt?
Right. Well,
so there's your 12. Your other 4 that need to make it into a viable competition come from League One, and I think again the plan behind that, and this hasn't been agreed yet, as indeed haven't rule changes apparently, that the League One clubs are going to play down in groups to come up with 4 teams, but those groups were going to start too early in the season for them and were possibly going to be midweek games. Well, you know, with the greatest respect to West Wales and Coventry, it's not going to be an economic attraction if they're playing in a group stage in midweek.
Well, we've not had the League One fixtures yet, have we?
Hopefully
are there only 10 clubs in that division?
11 now, I think.
11. So
New York,
you can't tell me they couldn't have a couple of games at the start of the year that determine whether.
But it depends when the start of the year is. If it's before they were wanting to start, then it might be.
Madness.
But the madness is, as Gary just said, to play that final as the 3rd game rather than possibly the first game. But ask anybody about the logic of the fixtures, you would say play the 1895 first to get at least a hardcore of your Championship stroke League One fans in, and a section of the teams that are competing in the Challenge Cup. Get them in early, get a bit of atmosphere going, play the kids so that they can play in front of fans with a bit of atmosphere, whereas at the moment they play before the gates have even opened, so there's nobody in the ground, and end it with the big presentation of the prestigious Challenge Cup. But it sounds as though it's going to be the kids in the usual slot graveyard, the Challenge Cup where it currently is, presumably because of television need, and the 1895 to be played afterwards, which means that of the competing fans that were there for the Challenge Cup, the losers will have already gone because they don't stay for the presentation anyway. The winners will be out on Wembley Way drinking themselves stupid because they've just won. And a stadium that holds 90,000 people will have 10,000 in it.
Did they watch Australia
and on the red
Fiji
button
in the World Cup semi-final when everyone went home at varying degrees of the game because England had lost thanks to Sean Johnson? We all thought, sorry, I'm not staying anymore.
But again, if it's not ratified and signed off yet, why are we announcing it? Was it to hide the fact that we don't have a sponsor now for the Challenge
We've
Cup?
invented a Yorkshire Cup that doesn't have all the teams from Yorkshire in it, so...
Scotty, just to conclude, in your opinion, the 1895 Cup, should every club, professional, semi-professional, League One and above, be entered in this competition?
Absolutely. For the same opportunity, great experience of playing at Wembley, and secondly as well, nice little earner for them.
There's the other thing as well, is it's harder than ever for a community club to get through to play a Super League club. So should all the community clubs be in the 1895 Cup?
Maybe, I don't know.
Because it's still a road to Wembley, isn't it?
Yeah.
And a road that they're more likely to get further along.
Yeah, but then you look at the FA Cup, the teams that can enter that don't enter the League Cup, do they? So you can't have it, but I think you're one or the other.
But we have too long a season, so should we be starting off instead of the Challenge Cup with the community-based clubs? Should they be starting the 1895 Cup?
Don't know. But they should all be involved, shouldn't they? All our
I don't know how
professional
you
clubs.
can have it if it's selective.
It's not. Yeah.
I can sort of understand there will be logistical problems with Toulouse and Toronto, and the costs that they're being asked to underwrite may well preclude them from being in it. But then we haven't decided what we want out of Toronto or having clubs who are geographically further away. What is the end game? Although they do now have a new coach, which is probably worth discussing as well.
Who's that, Brian Mack? Yeah, we'll discuss that later. Rich, 1895, it's got to be all in, hasn't it? This is what we said. You've got to sell the dream. It's the dream, isn't it? You know what I mean? It's a dream that if you're a Newcastle or a Coventry or whoever else in League One, if you get a favourable draw, you could be, and we've said it before, you put a Fev and a Halifax or whoever, a Lee and a Widnes in a semi-final, that's going to generate a load of money.
Well, you've got another double header there, haven't you?
Well, there you go.
You remember the Yorkshire Cup, the proper one, not this nonsense thing they've invented. I know
You remember the Yorkshire Cup?
I know it's supposed to be positive, but it's a lot of crap, isn't it? Not all the teams run it. It's not.
It's a Masonic handshake cup, I think, that Yorkshire Cup.
It's a pre-season.
You're
thing.
invited in
It's
over your
called the
behaviour, not over who you are.
predominantly Yorkshire Cup.
Yeah.
They've taken the name of something that had prestige in
They
the past.
can't
and trying to
possibly
bastardize
use
it.
the Yorkshire Cup that was contested until 1992. They can't use the history behind that cup and pretend this is anything to do with that.
We're a sport, but that's what as a sport we do, Phil.
We can't.
In
We can't.
1992, in the final year of the cup, which Wakefield won, I don't know if you knew this.
Have you got the cup?
No.
Just checking.
Don't know where it is.
We do know where it is.
We do know where it is.
No, pretend we don't know where it is, and if it gets nicked, no one can blame us.
Down at Cash Converters.
Cash Converters Huddersfield.
In the preliminary round of the 1992 Yorkshire Cup, because because there were too many teams because of Sheffield and Mansfield had gone by then. Anyway, whoever we are. Scarborough had to play. Scarborough played Doncaster in the first round, but they went in the preliminary round because they drew it actually out of a hat, probably on Radio Leeds. I don't know if it's still going.
What, the hat?
The hat. And in the preliminary round, the magic balls pulled out were Castleford and Bradford Northern, the two teams who contested the final the year before. Were in the preliminary round. They didn't say, "Oh, we've got to throw them back in and pull out Scarborough and I don't know Hunslet or something." No, they were out there.
A preliminary round, Leeds. We went up to Kells in the preliminary round. Yeah, so
that was the Challenge Cup. Yeah.
But to say that's how it should be. Sling them all in. Hey.
No, we can't do that because we might miss out on Widnes versus Lee at Wembley. Can't wait. I say Lee, of course.
Talking of the Yorkshire Cup, and we can't really mention it because of someone who's in the run, but will Keighley be even able to get to the starting line to play in the predominantly Yorkshire Cup?
I don't know.
And if they don't, will a Super League team take their place?
I mean,
Who owns the cup?
The good news for the RFL is me and Mark are putting together a bid document, aren't we, to
Yes.
sponsor the Challenge Cup.
We are. We've made a bid to sponsor it.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
It will be the highest bid, as we
Well,
currently
hey,
stand at the moment.
Hey, we are officially going to make a bid. Yeah,
I think
right.
it's the-
Excellent.
it's the only
Yeah.
way we might
I'll
get
underwrite.
access to
We'll have
series.
Scoy there presenting the trophy on our
Brilliant.
behalf.
Brilliant.
Yeah,
Closest we'll get, yeah.
yeah, closest you'll ever get to it. Yeah,
Handed it to somebody else.
yeah.
As sponsors do, are we saying who gets to work on it media-wise?
Oh no, we can't do that. But no, we are. I mean, it needs looking at, doesn't it? There's no sponsor for the most illustrious competition.
So is that official then? We've got a sponsor for the Challenge Cup?
I mean,
No.
we aren't the only sport that has these issues. You know, lots of sports at the moment are struggling to find sponsors because A, it's either a bookmaker, it seems.
Right,
or
what's
B,
wrong? What's wrong with
there's-
that?
There's nothing wrong with that, but there's obviously pressures on bookmakers at the moment. And B, there isn't the money around, as we've seen in the country, just to throw at sponsoring competitions.
Is
in
this the
world
New
sport.
Yorkshire Cup?
No, that's an award we won for bestest ever podcast about rugby league.
Yeah, just cover
We
the
don't,
right up.
we don't like to crow about
Hey,
that.
but
I mean,
Richie,
I've read that up.
Richie, hold on here. You know, we've got a guy called Robert Elston who's telling us,
Well, yeah.
who's telling us, you know, now Super League is all sorted out.
Yeah.
How excited Robert Elston
Yeah.
is about the new fixes that are coming out for the great start of the season.
Yeah.
All the Australian signings who the clubs are making so far already in like Blake Austin and Trentman and the quality from there. And the big noises, what Matt Manners has made, the big noises, what
But-
Sir Lenigan's made, what
yeah.
Pearson is making,
But-
what Hudson is making, everybody's making. You're trying to tell me
Yeah.
the product of Rugby League
No.
cannot get a sponsor? Surely there's something out there. But I tell you what,
they're
we'll
all
get
Super
one,
League.
but we won't get one if we don't promote and market it
Well,
properly.
they're all
It's
the
as
Super-
simple as that.
They're all the Super League people you've just mentioned. It's the RFL's
Yeah, it's the
competition.
RFL, isn't it?
Well,
Whose marketing department is migrating?
I understand. I know the Super League and the RFL now are two different governing bodies, but surely some of them people, them big noises, know somebody in business to say, tell you what, Rugby League need a sponsor for the biggest cup competition in world of Rugby League, the Challenge Cup. Surely.
We had new names on the England shirt, didn't we? And England partners during the World Cup, doing the
Yeah.
Test series. That's the word I'm looking for. Ron Seal, Trojan Workwear. So I remember all these things.
Thatcher on the front.
Thatcher. But I don't
Well, hold on then. Where's
Bachelor's piece.
we're talking about events and we're talking about people who are looking to make it an event. What someone earns and how the earns supposed to be just in
Well, I don't know. Big Ralph's
and the
got to pull that one out of the bag, hasn't he?
Got
His
quite
mate
again,
Eddie. He's
Yeah,
got to get his mate
hold
Eddie.
on. So why aren't the Hearns coming into this then? We're looking for big events, a big cup competition. Shouldn't they be involved in the Challenge Cup?
Could have Ronnie O'Sullivan potting balls to decide who plays who, like Big Break. Yeah.
It's moving though to July, which it should do in 2020. So
Right.
that may well freshen up the competition a little bit. Whether it'll bring in a sponsor or not, I don't know.
When's the Magic Weekend? May. End of May.
Bank holiday?
You look at. It's not joined up. Nothing's
Nothing's
joined
joined
up.
up.
It's all written on. It's all Mike Bassett, England manager, and it written on the back of a
Do you know
fag
what, this-
packet.
you know what, this is
We'll
all-
do this. We'll do that.
It's all getting confusing, isn't it?
It is really.
It
Yeah,
is,
we've
it's
got
all
a
getting
cup
confused.
competition for you, but you can't enter it. And then we've got this other cup competition, but we're only inviting these.
Don't we
It's
all?
pathetic.
It's
really.
confused, isn't it?
But don't panic
is.
because the 1895 Cup will be live on the Our League app or something like some Tom Noddy tri-series nobody's really bothered about.
You're being negative.
I
now.
know, and I shouldn't say that about amateur rugby league because they obviously do a great service, blah blah blah. I was at a thing on Friday with me nephew won Man of Steel.
Did he?
Yeah.
Bloody hell!
And my
wow.
other nephew
Eh?
got top tackler.
Right?
But I tell you what, the great
Don't run in the family then.
No. Bronte Barbarians, like all these junior clubs, they all do great work in getting kids involved in playing rugby league. Lots of girls there as well, which was good to see. You know, these are under 7s, under 8s. So
Don't forget the
again,
big transfer.
we need to talk about that. Yeah, so
We do.
I'm not saying when I say Tom Noddy trying. No one really is that bothered about Yorkshire and Cumbria and Lancashire playing amateur rugby league on an app. It's just a waste of time and resource, especially when they're playing at the same time that the Bala team are playing in Fiji. So these aren't the best players. I know people.
By
get
the way,
upset.
are you following Dave Parkinson on social
Yes.
media?
Yeah.
He's having
He's
a good
listening.
sort.
He is the
He's
king.
having a
He's,
good sort,
he
that
is
lad.
the king of Carver.
He were half cut on half of them pictures and
Yes,
all, by the
yeah.
way.
Wearing
Do it
flowers
well.
in his
He's in
hair.
Fiji,
and-
Oh, he's
yeah.
with the bar,
Oh, yeah,
is he?
yeah.
Oh.
He had, that glazed over look you get. Yeah, you after about 3 pints. Dave had that. Yeah, he clearly had a few
It
pints.
goes back to our social media and just not doing the right things at the right time. I'll come on to more about it in a moment because I need to address Andy's message on Facebook He's not happy because Sam Tompkins is here. Well, don't worry, Andy.
Yeah, right, get rid of that then. You see?
What's happening here?
Yeah.
Show some respect.
What, for Sam Tompkins?
Yes.
I did actually want to ask people who's the Gerwin Price of rugby league, and how it was
Yes.
1 to 100 it was going to be Sam Tompkins.
Isn't
It
Gerwin Price the Gerwin Price of rugby league?
Well, I mean,
Because he
was.
did play rugby
He
league,
was.
so...
Why,
He was.
why would we send out a press release today saying, well done Gerwin Price, former rugby league player, you've won something? I know it's thinking slightly out of the
What a
box.
league,
you know,
what a league are you
Yeah,
in?
he played
No,
both.
Both, I think.
I think he played 3 games
Played
for
for
South
West
Wales
Wales.
Scorpions.
Yeah. So-
Really?
But still, he counts. But there you go. That's interesting. Well, thank you for your support on Facebook, by the way. We're very happy.
Yes,
So,
we are.
so Andy,
Sorry, Sam.
yeah.
No, I can't believe he just did that to Sam Tompkins. That was a dangerous throw.
Yeah.
6-game ban.
Not in rugby union. You see that fella the other day who dropped someone on his head, just a penalty. So,
Oh, well.
Patrick says he's hanging on to what was the greatest game by his fingernails. Find it hard to continue to follow supported due to ridiculous decisions being made. Be positive, Patrick.
Well, the international game, I think, gives us hope. I feel rejuvenated with what's happened in the last 3 or 4 weeks. I think there's a lot of it has been almost taken back to grassroots. That the Celtic nations have used a lot of domestic-based players. That it's been a fabulous year for French rugby league overall, and that was culminated by them getting to the World Cup. I think Jamaica is a story. I don't think that you can stress too much that USA still have a chance to get through in a repechage tournament that will happen sometime next year. Likely at this stage, it'll be them or the Cook Islands.
We need to set up
If the Cook
Zimbabwe
Islands
rugby
feel
league or-
everybody who's eligible for them, they'll probably win it. But America are still not in the World Cup. But we should be making a huge deal about Jamaica. I think that's massive for rugby. The fact as well that within that America's Championship were Chile. First time we've ever seen a South American nation. And although you could tell that they're in the early stages of their development, isn't it great to have South American representation? This weekend, Argentina, Brazil and Colombia will play each other in the Tri-Series. Now again, people get hung up about the standard of these games.
It's irrelevant.
Who cares?
It's irrelevant.
They are
It's the
playing
colour of the
rugby
shirt,
league.
isn't it? Yeah,
And
yeah,
if you
yeah.
look in 10 years' time, you've always got to
Well,
start
look at
somewhere.
Japan. Look at Japan 10 years ago. Couldn't play rugby union.
Yeah.
And look at them now. They're hosting the World Cup. You know, they're investing in their thing. It's happening. You know,
So
it's
what I
happening.
would say to Patrick is I can understand why it's a long haul supporting club rugby league at the moment, and that there are too many people pulling in too many different directions. The saving grace, and I think even with the World Cup coming up, that there's some things happening under the banner of the 2021 World Cup that should genuinely make you excited. That is going to be a really big tournament here in 3 years' time. Hold on by your fingernails, and until then, and it won't save the game, but it'll be a very important regeneration.
So Phil, when are we going to start telling people that there's a World Cup in 2021?
I think the people who are working for World Cup 2021 are doing a really good job. They are getting the message out. There's some good videos. There's some. They're doing work. They've already taken the cup to Holland, Germany, and Papua New Guinea, doing international development work. So there is a lot. I think there's been a lot of media over the weekend about the Caribbean. Becoming part of the rugby league family formally by celebrating their World Cup success. So I think it is happening, and they are doing a lot of good work. But we just need to get away from preaching to the convert. They've got a timetable when they're going to announce stuff. So the next thing will be the venues.
When's that coming out?
January, which
What,
is good. It's 2
next
years.
year or year after?
No, 2019.
Right.
So again, 2 years ahead of time.
Right.
And they've got timelines where they're going to announce things. The draw is in November next year, so you'll get the 4 groups of 4, and I think there is good build up.
Tickets are going to go on sale at a certain point, aren't they?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's going to be. They've got a plan.
They
They've
have
got
a plan.
They have actually got a plan.
And they've got
They're not just
people
throwing stuff
involved
against the
in
wall.
it who aren't rugby league people. They've taken on expertise of
As well.
lawyers, bankers. You know, they're doing it the right way.
Is
business
that
clubs.
no? People like Patrick. Is that not what is hurting Patrick? And I think it hurts us to a certain degree. Is that it's very rare very, very rare we'll criticise what's happening on the field. We might pick on a performance week to week. We're not moaning about the game. The game is the selling point. It's the fact that the people running the game are pretty much still the same people that have overseen disaster after disaster after disaster.
Absolutely.
And whilst I think it's great Robert Elston's come in, I really do. but he's only responsible for one bit of the game. I'd rather he was responsible for it all.
Well, the
and
classic...
we have the new broom sweeps clean.
You have just
mentality.
hit on the exact thing. There has been some kind of a press release, but not to quite everybody, about the changes that Super League want to bring in for next year.
Yeah.
Things like the shot clock, whether we're going to have golden point, less substitutions. All of those are fine, but the Super League have recommended that for Super League and have now passed that on to the RFL for ramification. Well, that raises two questions. One is, what's the point of having the RFL?
Yeah.
They're being told what to do. The second thing is, what if the RFL say, we don't agree with that? And that actually,
it's ridiculous.
The Super League will do it anyway.
Yeah.
But does it now apply to the Championship? Does it apply to League One? Does it apply to Community Rugby League? It's almost as if, again, the perfect example of the game being pulled in different directions is Super League announcing it is going to have different rules next year.
I'm just checking my spam email to see if I've got
Well,
one.
no, I must admit, when I read it on South Hang, I hadn't even had an email. I don't know anything about this. And I know I'm not high on the list, you know what I mean? But I thought at least I might have had courtesy of an email. But it hasn't happened. We'll have a chat about those rule changes in a bit. Let us know what you think of them, the ones that have been announced. You know, it's just farcical. The media output of this sport.
But they haven't
worse.
been announced.
Maybe they only get announced to cheerleaders.
Yeah, but they have clearly someone's been told
Yes.
about them. So
But they've gone. What I'm saying is they've gone public with their wish list and now expect the RFL rules and regulations.
Yeah, but is this not like when they went public with it? Oh, well, we're changing.
Yeah.
We're going our own
So
way.
what
Stop
is
what
the-
you think.
so,
And that's what they're doing now.
Without being in any way negative, what is the point of the RFL as it's currently constituted?
I don't, mate. I'd give up. I give up. Honestly.
It's a service level agreement.
But is this
company.
not what we go back to? You know, is a saying as when you have a bet, it's the hope that kills you when you think something's going to happen. It's like that in rugby league, isn't it? You hope every year it's going to sort out. It's going to be right. You know, we've been banging on, and people go, "Oh, look at all them people claiming they invented the idea of this 1895 Cup." We've been on about it for 3 years on this show.
No, it's Mick Morgan in League Express.
No,
That's
Rod Studd, our good friend, he
we've
mentioned
been
it.
on about it, right? We've been on about it, right? So they bring it in, but they don't bring it in because it's only for half the clubs.
Yeah.
We can't have them in because they're not good enough. It's like, what? Right? I wish you hadn't have bothered. Just make it available for everyone, or don't do it. This Yorkshire Cup thing, we got told about this from a former high-ranking RFL official who seemed to me to have rather too much knowledge about what's going on at the top end of the RFL, given that he no longer works there and got a huge payoff. Rich has just broke Facebook, by the way. So if you're listening on Facebook, well, you can't see us now on YouTube because Rich is stood in the way of the camera.
Oh, we're back on.
Oh, good lad. So it's... People say don't be negative, but we all want the best for the sport.
Absolutely.
And the quick wins are so quick, it's like easy. I don't think anyone would begrudge the shot clock coming in. But do it right. Just make it as an announcement. Have it on Sky. Oh, they've changed the rules. We're going to make it bigger and better because this is happening, that's happening. Not write it on the back of a fag packet. Go, here, mate, here, have a look at that. That's what we're going to do next year. You put it out in your paper and then everyone else can read about it. It's like, what's the point?
I think the other thing about all of that as well is it clearly is an attempt to follow exactly what is happening in the NRL. We know that Rob Elston is a huge fan of the NRL. He went to live in Australia as a young man because he so admired the NRL. He spent most of the week in York with Todd Greenberg, who is his equivalent in the NRL. And on the back of that, we are bringing in 4 potential changes that help us come in line with the NRL. In principle, I don't have a problem with that. Look, one of the issues for me is that we have 3 sets of rules for the sport. It doesn't happen in any other sport.
No.
So the nearer we can get to all having the same rules, I'm happy with. But you can't do it in a clandestine manner and just expect people to come along with it. Does it apply to the other divisions or not?
Don't know. It's a weird one. What do you make of the shot? The shot clock needs introducing for the dropout. That's farcical.
I agree.
It really
and goal
is.
kicks and scrums.
Yeah,
But why is it? Is it 100 seconds for a goal kick, right? And I know bang on about the NFL a lot, right? The NFL score a touchdown. They've then got 40 seconds to get the players that are on the field off the field and get the other team on the field to kick the goal, and they do it. Why do we get 100 seconds to put a ball on a corner goal? And then spend 3 hours. The field goal kicker
Mind you,
thing gets 5 seconds to snap the ball. He kicks it.
All of their field goals are in front of the post.
Oh, do me a favour.
Don't miss them.
Yeah, do me a
I
favour.
go for I've been a big advocate the golden point as well. I'd love to see the golden point introduced.
Right, a lot of people moaning about that today. I don't see any negative in that.
I'd love to see it. I would, yeah.
Yeah.
What is the you know, one of the greatest iconic images recently of NRL Grand Finals is the one that was won on a golden point. So, you know, yes, it's a cup competition, but you know, how many draws do we have in a year? 3 or 4? If you add excitement to that.
The only thing I raised the point about this today is you've then got the worry you don't know when the game's going to finish. Now, bear with me, and I know it's only the odd one. People moan about Sky. Game goes off straight after the full-time whistle. We don't even have time. Sometimes we don't even get to hear from the coaches. We don't even get away from the man of match. Goes to golden point, what happens then? Do we say, to watch the last 5 minutes you have to go on the red button?
What about if we kick off quarter of an hour early?
Well, that's my point I'm trying to make. How hard is it for the written guys who've got deadlines? And like us on national radio, you know, when we're on national radio, lucky enough to be on, we're off air at 10 o'clock. You can't wait. You can't keep going. A game that kicks off at 6:45. They go, how long do they play? 40 minutes each way? What, and the game lasts 2 hours?
But that's where the shot clock comes in to shorten the length of the game that we've now got past the 2 hour mark, so you can build in golden point if you need to.
Is that going to work?
Yeah.
I'm for it, man. I think golden point is a good thing. I think it'll add a bit of excitement.
And the third one Phil mentioned as well with the substitutes, I'd be delighted if we cut down to 6.
But again, again, you could turn around now. So you go to, I don't know, 18, or it's 6 subs next year, and he goes, well, hang on, I've bought my squad. I bought some big fat lads that weigh 20 stone and can knock the hell out of people because I can make 10 subs, and now I can only make 6. You can't. Should that not be introduced a bit further down the road?
Super League clubs knew about this, so I think some of the recruitment that they're doing will be on the basis that they may have less or a couple less players in the knowledge that they've got 2 less interchanges.
All right,
so I think they've been party to that decision.
Okay, well that's fair. Well, that's good then. Again, that answers that, but a bit of clarification.
And also as well, I think a message should go out to all the coaches: stop your players cheating. Stop your players cheating, faking injuries.
And that's one of the things that will happen with a shot clock.
It's got to do. It's got to come into the game.
If you've only got 40 seconds to drop out, there's not a lot of point laying down with cramp.
It's quick wins, isn't it? You can tidy the game up very quickly.
I think the other thing about golden point is one of the objections raised, particularly on social media, is it becomes a drop goal-a-thon in golden point. Has anybody watched a game with the last 10 minutes and it's a draw? It becomes a drop goal-a-thon from the 70th minute.
Well, you know what?
That ain't going to change.
Just sorry to they might actually have to work and practice kicking drop goals.
Well, it could become a skill again.
You look at rugby league; they'll go for a drop goal from the halfway line.
I'll tell you what, I hope Leeds don't have 7 draws because they'll never win a game on a drop goal, will they?
Lola here can drop a goal.
Who can?
Lola here.
Can he?
I don't know. I'm hoping he can.
Kev sent us a message earlier about these rule changes, which, as we say again, we've not been told about them, so we don't know what they are because we're not important. Least connected people in rugby league. And asking about the play of the ball. Are they going to sort that out? I don't know because I've not seen the email. But it was funny because at the Hall of Fame dinner the other week when they showed old rugby league on the telly, they didn't play the bloody ball properly in the 60s. They were just dropping it between the legs.
Well, and you could kick it forward in those days.
I'll tell you what as well, when we talk about one of the lads who got induced into the Hall of Fame, Andy Gregory, he had the worst play of the ball ever. Have you ever seen Andy Gregg play the ball? Absolute shocking because it was always angry when he got tackled and stand up, throw the ball down, touch it and then try and fight somebody. He had the shocking play of the ball ever, but that needs picking up on there. But as we say, if you could just twinkle these little things, what people are just picking on, well, we all pick them on as well in the media, then we can improve the game.
We can, but
we can improve the quality of the game.
What
as well.
would improve the quality of the game more than any rule change is less games, and that's the one thing they want.
But that's Phil. Unfortunately, you've been harping on about how long we've been going on this show. 5 years, 4 years now, Phil. That's but Phil, do you know what? I agree with this, but unfortunately, because of the financial situation in the game, it ain't going to happen.
Well, if you're like you're saying about Elston admires the NRL so much, maybe, and I've said this before, if you marry up to their season, it allows certain things that could happen. I know we've got the cup, they don't have it, but you've got to factor that in.
And you can bring something in mid-season that's an income generator.
Well, one thing for sure as well, I'll sling this one in as well. The big man at Sky,
Neville Smith.
Neville Smith is leaving. Why is Neville leaving? Has Neville come to his own conclusion? The Sky deal's coming up in 2021. Is he leaving his sinking ship? Is the money not going to be there? We're anticipating from 40 to 30 million. Is it going to be less than 30 million?
Can I put a positive spin on this?
Yes.
Because obviously we don't deal in negativity, we deal in realism. But
We believe in honesty. That's what we believe in.
In positive terms, and obviously Sky are great, and I don't think Sky deserve half the criticism they get, because people forget without Sky's money, we wouldn't be watching the
100%.
rugby league we are watching at the minute.
Sky have been fantastic for rugby league since day one.
So if we
There'd
didn't
be no
have,
marquee signings.
there'd be none of this. You know, we'd have Wigan dominant. Oh no, they were belly up. That's the phrase I was looking for. Not the one I was going to use.
Slightly higher than the belt.
Yeah, we're not banter bus program. But I think it would be fair to say, in the 30 years Neville Smith's been in charge of rugby league or something like that, it's in the paper, there are lots of great things they've done in terms of how they broadcast matches, but they coverage probably needs freshening up slightly. You know,
I have a
seize the day music on the tries. We don't need that anymore.
I think Robert
Talks about
Elston
the
has in at a very high level at Sky, from having worked for Sky, and I suspect that if again he wants to change the perception of the sport, he's gone in and said it needs to look and feel a little bit different. Now it may well be that a casualty of that, but perhaps a willing one, hopefully, because of the service that he's given to the sport. Maybe Neville's decided somebody else can steer the ship, take it in a slightly different direction. If the sport needs to be portrayed in a different way, I'm happy to. You know, I've taken it as far as I can. Done a great job. It was on the RFL Roll of Honour. Invented the video referee because he was a referee himself earlier. You know, he's an Australian. Maybe it's time for him to go home if he wants to. But I think you see it possibly as a negative that he's getting out early. I see it as a chance to change Sky's coverage. Now, there may be a cost implication. It may be that they're working off a reduced budget. It's possibly that they're going to lump some sports together to be the Sky another channel. So there won't be as much. Rugby league will be an event as it's played, rather than, as we've seen, the loss of all the magazine programmes. And it could well be that somebody else will come in and see what that looks like. That's not necessarily a bad thing.
I mean, one would hope then, if Robert Elston does want to change the perception of rugby league, he looks very carefully at some of the media partners that the sport deals with at the moment, and that's the less said about that the better.
It might be that, for example, that one of the things we've said is we cannot see the reason for having an ex-referee as part of the commentary team. It's not a cost thing. I don't know what Stuart Cummins gets paid, and it's none of our business. But what it does is you have to slant your coverage a certain way. If you've got a guy in there that needs to question every refereeing decision, otherwise there's no point in being there. Now, if Rob Elston has said, and he's even taken maybe a mandate from the RFL saying we need to get away from constantly over analysing referees' decisions, that you take that out of the coverage, and it may well have triggered Neville to say, well, that was sort of my idea, and I do still back that idea, so it's now time for somebody else if you don't want that as part of the coverage.
No, I've yet to see a person who's reacted positively to Cummins. I just think he adds nothing.
And look how quickly they got rid of the margin meter.
Yeah.
Brian Carney, who of course is one of our sport's greatest assets, because A, he's not northern, so people can't accuse him of being, you know, like all the rest of us. But B, he's a very good television presenter in the sense that he has something that you can't teach. And at the moment, there's a lot of ex-sportsmen or recently retired sportsmen who go to do these degrees in sports broadcasting, and you can have as many degrees as you want, unless you've got that that X factor that Brian Carney has, in the fact that you see him on screen and he comes across as a very jovial chap. He knows what he's talking about. He asks good questions. He's not perfect, but he's getting better all the time. He's exactly what we need as the face of our sport on telly, because he's not what people think of rugby league. If you've not heard him on the By the Balls podcast with Ross and John, and I know they're kind of related to us, so it's all right just plugging this.
They're like
it's a very
black sheep cousins.
Yeah, it's a very fascinating chat with him. It's a chat more than an interview, and he says some very interesting things about what the sport needs to do. He's very complimentary about Scully, in a backwards compliment as well.
I won't tell you how much it cost me, but anyway.
Does he think these things through? Probably not, I think was the line, wasn't it?
But this works. He was a big fan of this.
Yeah.
The old Malmeninga.
We need more of that. We need more, you know, this is why I'm talking about Gerwyn Price. We need more people who, you know, wearing a hat that we can go boo at and build them up into hate figures.
Well, what are Sky going to do? Their dream is that Anderson plays Gerwin Price very quickly, and they'll be all over it. It'll be on the thing. The pictures of him pushing him, and and that's what we don't build that up enough, do we? We don't.
And that's
build
where
that
the
up
Hearns
enough.
come in. They know how to build up
Yeah,
a
but-
concept.
I just think that's general marketing skill.
When are the Hearns coming in? When are they coming in there? Because also, you know what? Because Rodster, who's one of our friends of the show and rugby league man, but I text Rod as well and I asked him, the question last night. I said, well, I just felt as though he was a little bit disrespectful. I think really is it good for darts? But then when you think about it more, you think, I tell you what, it's bringing a bit more character to the sport. As long as from a point of view, all the young lads are coming into it now thinking, well, all right, I've got to be more aggressive on there now and go away from the respect what the darts bring. Because individual sport, it's like golf, it's like snooker, it's like tennis. It's a bit of etiquette, isn't it? When you're on the hockey, you've got to have some sort of etiquette. But the more I thought about it, and I thought, well, I've not had no response today from Barry Hearn. As you just mentioned there, he'll be absolutely loving that because of the characters and what he's bringing Gerwin Price. And the biggest selling point for him is going to be, with the next competition, hopefully at the World Championships, Anderson and Price, he doesn't need to market that. It's a sell-out straight away.
When the Premier League comes out, they'll both be in there. And when they play at whatever arena,
can you remember,
you say, come watch this.
Hey, that'll be up in Scotland. That'll be up in Scotland.
Yeah. They're doing in Wales.
That'll be
in Wales as well.
They've got Wales and all of them.
Yeah, so you could go home and away.
You don't need any marketing or promoting for that, do you?
When we had the great, Darryl Powell and Sean Wayne don't like it. What do we do about it?
Nothing.
Swept under the cup. Don't ask. Don't make a big deal out of it.
Yeah.
So,
But when you look at darts and how, again, it keeps reinventing itself, it's relevant to the debates we have about how do you promote rugby league. This spat hasn't cost anything. This is free marketing.
Yeah.
Somebody from an agency hasn't said, I'll tell you what, we'll get one guy to push another guy.
It's not the WWE.
Yeah, it's not play
Exactly.
No.
But when Phil Taylor retired, who dominated the scene, Raymond Barneveld announced today that next year will be his last season. How do you fill that void? Those are people that non-darts aficionados will watch a tournament and get to know them a little bit. So now what have we got? We've got a bloke I've never heard of who's Welsh pushing a bloke who I've just he's quite famous who's Scottish. Oh right, I'll keep watching.
And for the people who think this has never happened in darts before, go back to the 80s. Go watch Jockey Wilson versus Eric Brisbane in Scotland when they were chucking cans of beer around.
And what about him, Peter Manley as well? Because him and Dennis Phil Taylor couldn't stand each other and all this sort of thing.
But it sells. It
sells.
sells.
Exactly. But we don't do enough of that because we
don't do anything.
Here's the strange thing today. So I was thinking about it. I think we need to promote more rivalries. Hatred's a strong word. Whatever it is, pantomime. It's
Pantomime villainry.
I mean, the players do need to behave more on social media, and people need to tell them, we are a family sport, and I know you're supposed to be over 18 to be on Twitter, but still behave. But we still need people who go on the pitch and, Andy talking about Sam Tompkins behind us. People like to dislike Sam Tompkins for whatever reason.
Yeah.
But that's not a bad thing. It's bad when people go on and troll him on social media or whatever. That's bad, but that's the society we live in where people are idiots.
Well, I can tell you what, when you going back in my day, right, and Sean Edwards was coming back into our game in 2020 coaching Wigan. What about him when he scored a try? And he ran to the corner post and the old nodding dog.
Yeah.
He just got up people. Whatever you want to do from there, but still, it got a reaction, it got the boo because he was a character from there, and you brought it from there. But as like sport is, we don't have them sort of characters. But darts now, certainly with that kid from there last night. But that's what we need more. And hopefully, Robert Elston will not just make them, big superstars what he's anticipating, but characters as well.
This is the thing. We're now being told off for talking too much about darts. We're using it as an example of how we can get better. Anthony says we've got to be careful in an aggressive sport like rugby league. Last time Wayne built up a hate factor against Saints in the grand final, Flower took it too far and crossed the line. But that's his fault. That's not Sean Wayne's fault. We know Sean Wayne doesn't like St Helens. Just because a bloke punches a bloke who's an idiot, that's not our fault.
No, it's not. Just a quick change of topic anyway. I just want to give a big shout out to Stephen Cram, one of our regular listeners. He's been really ill. He's been in hospital quite badly.
We've mentioned him a couple of times, hoping he
was
getting better.
He must have done it in my absence. I apologise. But he basically he's been in touch and said he's on the mend, all being well.
Good man.
So well done, Steve. We hope you get out of hospital soon, and no doubt we'll keep hearing from you during the week. Much appreciated.
Do you like the new Wakefield away kick?
I was going to ask you, do you like the new one? It's grey though. Teams tend not to win wearing grey.
Do they not? Well, like Man United that time. I'm of the opinion that your home shirt should be a home shirt and it looks like your team, and the away shirt can be anything else you want.
But grey.
I like that. Was it pink and grey that Leeds had a few years ago? Pink and grey hoops. Just something completely different. Because you don't have to buy it. People think you have to buy everything. Oh, go buy a duvet cover instead.
Well, you talk about Wayfield from there, and again, just reading League Express, and the big signing, Danny Brough. Chris Chester's saying he's absolutely delighted the way Brough has settled in. He's introduced himself, his communication's good, he's talked to the players, his professional attitude, he seems to be bringing the best out of the players. So Chester reckons with the attitude what Brough has brought, he's going to take him to the next level.
Well, we're going to make a start on our predictions. You know, it's been It's been a week since the end of the season.
Well, has it finished yet?
Well, domestically it has. So we're going to get ripped in, and we're going to.
I know we got the Australian schoolboys.
We're going to end someone's season right in the week they've started pre-season training.
Right.
Have Leeds started training yet? Have they got enough players? Someone asked them, have they got 17 players? They might have a new coach according to the paper. But
yes, I think Mr. Duffy is no longer the coach of Featherstone, we think, this evening, officially.
What do you make of that then, Ledge? We said at the time, he made a mess getting rid of John Sharp, didn't he, Mark Campbell? Has he got to be held responsible for that?
I wouldn't have thought so, no, because I'd say obviously Sharp did a great job because he got him into the position of the top four, and as a chairman, you know, if he doesn't like the style of Rugby League, well, that's his choice. So I don't think he made a mistake. But one thing for sure here now, I think with John, because I know John pretty well, you know, and I like the way the style of play that he plays, and we all know defensive wise, and he didn't get Featherstone where they wanted to get. But you know, I think John, when we talk about loyalty nowadays, it's not there, and you know, I'm led to believe he's got a contract well to 2020. It's obviously been tapped up by Lee from there, but I just felt as though.
Well, has he, or has he been told he can leave Featherstone?
No. I wouldn't have. No.
Well, Mark Campbell's not just going to let him go, is it?
No. We want compensation from Lee. That's without a doubt.
Well, how are they going to pay compensation when they can't even pay the players?
Well, I think you know Derek at times. You know, he may not be telling the whole truth. Mind you, the finances what he's got. Anyway, to be honest with you, but I say Duffy's under contract while 2020. There'll certainly be after compensation being played, but you know, John come from Swindon. Mark giving him the opportunity at Featherstone from there. I just feel as though that it's surprising because Featherstone are stable, financially stable. They don't rely on the coffers from the distribution money because they are very, very well run club from the community point of view and everything from there. And Lee, well, when you look at it in League Express, the players what they're on about signing. You mentioned there where they're going to get the money from.
Martin Ridyard
as well, Lee. But when you look at the quality of the players, what they're looking to get, you're thinking, well, hold on. Beaumont's walking away, isn't he, allegedly? But yeah, Duffy, he's been tapped up. He's contracted well, Featherstone well, 2020. He'll have to pay compensation, without a doubt.
Is he going to get a number plate for his car first?
Do you want to borrow some sellotape?
I didn't enjoy people moaning about that because it was in the Daily Mail and thinking, it doesn't matter.
What's that?
He got done for not having a number plate on the front of his Lamborghini.
Who did?
Mr. Beaumont.
Derek Beaumont.
The saviour of rugby league.
Oh, so he's skinned, is he?
Yeah, he's obviously couldn't afford the sellotape.
Oh, Skinner's got a Lamborghini, is he?
Yeah, an orange one.
More than one.
Yeah, by all accounts, he brags that he's got more than one, so he's not skinned.
He's not skinned. Lee is skinned, but he's not skinned.
He's not
Different
skinned.
things. No,
So are Lee going to make a comeback then if new coach?
We'll have a chat about that because the odds were out this week for the championship, and I want to have a look at them about winning the grand final. I think there's some interesting prices. I've seen on social media today the lads at Halifax have been running up the hills at Shibden Park. Right, have you ever been to Shibden Park? They are big hills. They are massive hills. I won't want to run up them once, let alone all morning. So well done to them.
People moaning that Sky perhaps see rugby league as a working class northern sport.
No.
And that we're never going to get a channel like golf or whatever.
Is that because we are? Is that because we are?
Hey, one thing for sure as well. We're not gonna have the pathetic promotion again of what happened this year. We have got to have a far better advertisement for the greatest game of all. Surely, haven't we?
Who was
after what was served up this year with the Brownlee? I totally respect the Brownlee brothers for what they do, for what they are. But as far as add anything to rugby league, I think absolute zilch.
Mark mentioned it on social media the other week that the England digital productions have gone up a level.
Really good, yes.
And some of the angles that they've taken and putting the players front and centre, I think that's shown us what I think we'll be doing at the beginning of next year. It will be very different. I'm not sure you need another celebrity to endorse it.
It's got to be because that was pathetic.
I think the only other thing is we need somebody in the jungle raising the profile of.
What celebrities have we got left?
Well, how come you're not in?
Get Big Mal. Get Big Mal in. Get me in there.
They unveiled the celebrities the other night, and I'm thinking he won't be here on Monday because next time we see him, he'll be in a hammock.
Hey, listen, there's any quality agents out there, get me in the jungle. There's 30% for you. Get me in the jungle. I want to get in there.
If Harry can get in, you
keep me in there. I want to get in there. Get me in there. Eh? Get me in that jungle.
Don't believe it. And that's a missed opportunity. Rob, if you can get him a ticket in the jungle.
What, one-way ticket?
Yeah. Well, we'll help pack your bag.
Yeah. When you jump out of the aeroplane, don't bother pulling the cord. It's a dummy.
Oh, it's a bit harsh.
Hey.
You'd miss me really.
Would I? Didn't miss toothache when I got rid of that.
I guess not.
No.
So anyway, because next year we're going to have loads of rugby league on telly, aren't we? Because people are pushing to get the Championship and Rugby League on, so it's going to be great. Championship and League One on.
You think there's a flaw in that argument?
I think. Well, I saw a tweet saying we could get £1 million for the rights.
Bear in mind they can't even sell the Challenge Cup
let me
that's on national free-to-air TV.
To quote your man there, we live in the real world, not fantasy island. Have you seen the attendance figures in the Championship and League One? And don't bring me Toronto. They're a foreign club in a foreign world. They don't count. You try sell, and I'll just be I was going to say try sell Swinton versus Dewsbury to people. We can't sell Wakefield versus Castleford. You know, so stop this nonsense about the Championship and League One being on TV.
Is the fact though, right? Here's one for you, because other sports have inferior levels of their, and I'm calling inferior. There is a league ladder, so the best teams generally at the top.
You know what? I don't care about this argument that some of the games in amateur rugby league are better than Super League, whatever. It doesn't matter. It does not matter because when the Premier League comes around in football, and the Sky call it Red Monday or whatever, and they put Liverpool Man United on, and it ends up being a dog of a game. It's 0-0. It's crap, right? But you know what? Next time Liverpool and Man United are on telly, everyone's watching. It doesn't matter about the level of the quality necessarily. It matters that people care about the brands, for the want of a better phrase. And you know, West Wales Raiders versus whoever might be worse than Wasbrow versus, I don't know, pick me somewhere else near Hunslet Old Boys or whatever. I don't know what they're called. People aren't bothered. We need to. This is what.
But yeah, I know. But is this not the fault, Rich, of the rugby league?
It's the fault of people within rugby league selling a dream that isn't there.
Well, no. But is it the fault of the RFL that when they sign their life away to Sky, and we've already spoken about the merits of that, and we appreciate that with no Sky we don't have what we have now, but the RFU insists that whoever broadcasts their games broadcasts some championship games.
But the RFU also pay towards the production because those television companies wouldn't take it.
No. They will not pay Sky to put them games on. Those games on Sky.
No, they pay the production costs.
Are you sure about that?
The RFU pay a lot of the production costs.
Well, hold on then. So go back to football then. Why is the Johnson's Paint Trophy, which is the footballing equivalent? It's not called that. It's called the Checker Trade Trophy. Apologies to the sponsors. Which is the equivalent of our Yorkshire Cup, really, basically. That's broadcast on telly. That's broadcast on national radio. Because whoever agreed the deal went, well, you can have that, but you've got to use some of that, and you've got to use some of that, and you definitely got to use some of that. You agree? Great, you can have the deal. We just went, have it all, crap, we don't want it, just do what you want with it. And now they're not doing anything with it. It's like, oh, it's not on. It's not on because the RFL didn't value it enough to say, right, what we want is, we don't want Super League every week on a Thursday, but you can have a championship game every other week on a Thursday. So we'll have one of them. You can pick who you want, we're not bothered, but make sure there's a game on. You've got to tell. Why are we dictated to all the time as a sport?
Because we have no confidence in ourselves.
Well, there you go. So if you say,
I never have.
If you say, you know, I'm sure next time it will be addressed because people have actually gone, oh, we made a bit of a mess of this. We need to sort it out. Yeah. Or you say, if you're doing the Super League, by the way, you've got to do a women's Super League game every month, even if it's on the red button or on the website or whatever. You've got to do it. And we've got to be more proactive, and hopefully Robert Elston, who is Super League and not the RFL, might do that.
But why is he bothered about the rights for the championship now? That's the problem, isn't it?
well,
If he is the guy that's
the-
going into bat in 2021 with Sky,
Yeah.
the main card he's got in his hand is Super League.
Yeah.
If he can play some of the others and it helps him with the deal, he might. But actually, he's not obligated in any way whatsoever to put the championship forward anymore, or internationals.
Well, and
or,
that's part of the
and
argument
that's the
that we've
problem.
had. Yeah, if you're a double glazing salesman, you'll have different products for different people. Someone can afford that, but
Yep.
they can't afford that. But you're not going to go, oh, well, you've only got 500. I don't want to sell you a window. You're not posh enough for me. You've got the money, they'll take it.
Well, I would imagine if Robert Elston has said to Lennigan and McManus and Pearson and Hudson and the rest of them, Michael Carter and Gary Hampton, and says, well, do you know what, fellas? I'm going to suggest to the TV companies that we promote the Championship and League One.
we're not paying you for that.
Can you imagine what the big boys would say? Exactly what you just said, Phil. Hold on, you wasn't brought in here for that. You were brought in to look after us. And there we go.
Yeah.
There we go.
So we
Divide and rule.
Well, exactly right. Exactly right.
And as we said, the bigger clubs got greedy. They're going to get bigger, and the rest of it, the Championship and the League One, we're going to have to feed off the scraps.
I think,
simple as that.
Again, you mentioned there the women's game, and obviously we have an interest in PDRL, big supporters of it. A couple here even played it. That's got to come into the package. But who actually has the right to negotiate that? Now that the women's game are allied to Super League clubs, does that become Rob Elston's to negotiate? The PDRL is coming under the badge and banner of clubs, some of whom are Super League, but most of them are Super League, some of whom are now outside. Who negotiates that now? You've now got two products you didn't have the last time the television negotiation came around. And if you're talking about building in steps to deals, right? Okay, well maybe one Sunday in every couple of months, Sky needs to have a women's game rather than a men's game.
Well,
Who's going to negotiate? Is that part of the deal? You know, that we want that, don't we want that? I mean, I think the women's game has got more potential for
the women's
growth.
T20 cricket is on Sky
we
now.
watched it last night, weren't we?
It's on Sky now.
Yeah.
You know, you can watch it. It's on. It's the same game. You know,
This
they
is where
select
the-
it out of the ground when it's there to be it. You know, it's the same
This
game.
is where the World Cup's going to be big in this. And if you think back, Mark, when 4 years ago, 5 years ago, whatever, when this programme started to be formed at Radio Yorkshire, and I'm very grateful that you. I know, well, it doesn't exist anymore, it's alright. I'm very grateful that you got me involved at the start, otherwise, God knows where we would have been. But who would have predicted at that point in 2014 that by 2017, Proper Sport as it became would be streaming live rugby league games on the internet? We didn't know what would happen.
No.
This programme changed fundamentally when we went live on Facebook.
Yeah.
So in 3 years' time, when the World Cup's on, I have got no idea how the media landscape's going to be. I don't know if we're going to be all watching more sport online. And when the World Cup comes around, I'm sure the big games will be on BBC One or BBC Two.
Every game will be on some
Yes,
platform of the
but I'm
BBC.
sure most of the games will be online because that's the way things will be at that point. I think it's important we get some of the women's games on the main channels
100%.
because I think, you know, it sounds like they're going to have double headers, which is great, which is important, because we need to expose people to the sport, and you can expose them by, if they're going to watch a men's game, here's a women's one tagged on, and they'll see it's the same.
I also think that the wheelchair offers them yet another market. That anybody who hasn't seen a wheelchair game yet, I would advise you that you will enjoy every minute of it. That is brutal. It's as brutal as it comes. Well, they're looking at hosting those in arenas rather than sports halls.
And how exciting is that?
So you can imagine, can't you, going along to Sheffield Arena to see a World Cup wheelchair rugby game between maybe Australia and New Zealand, or England and France, who are the two big players in wheelchair rugby. How fantastic is that going to be? No, it's not going to be a sports hall somewhere with a little bank of seating and a couple of. They are looking at arena venues. Fantastic.
And this is how you grow things, because people that will then see, by the fact that it's at the Sheffield Arena or whatever, we don't know where it's going to be.
No.
That's just an example to use.
Sheffield
as
have
arena.
bid. We know that.
Or an
Wheelchair.
arena. An arena somewhere in the north, possibly. That's immediately, it's got the cachet of it. This is what we said about Anfield. I know Anfield didn't sell out. I know it got nowhere near selling out. But it was an Anfield. It's a world famous venue. People will see when the World Cup venues are announced, and these big stadia, wherever they are, will go, I want to be a part of this. It's in a big venue. It's not being held, with all due respect, at Weldon Road. You know, as France and New Zealand was in the 2000 World Cup. It's not being held in wherever, Onsel. It's going to be a big event. We want to go. We've got to make these events. We've got to make people want to watch these things. And that's what the World Cup can do. And that's how we can make everything better. You know, but Tim's saying, you know, we need to have the Super League show broadcast nationally in a prime time slot. I'm not sure we
goes
do.
back again, Tim.
I'm not sure we do.
It goes. No, come on, Phil. It
sure
goes
we do.
back to. It goes back to the point that the tail is wagging the dog. It's
Well,
our products. If you want it, it's on nationally.
The issue is,
why doesn't it need to be on telly?
well, the time is irrelevant because people download and watch stuff at their convenience these days. There are people that will be
Non-rugby
listening
league
to this.
fans, non-rugby league fans don't listen to this
But
show.
non-rugby league fans won't tune into the Super League show whenever it's on.
But if it's on national telly, you might see it.
No. The trouble is, it's funded out of the regions, and that is an issue about the image of rugby league and where it sits. And that's something we need to deal with before it can go national.
Right.
That's
So I'll go
us.
back to another point I've made then. So if you say to the BBC, we give you all these great games, you tell us you get all these figures, right? We get all these figures. The figure's that good, right, that we can't even sell a sponsor for it. So do we need to go... We need to go to the ITV because you've had 50 years of this on the BBC and it hasn't. Ultimately, you've done nothing for our game.
I've been told off for knocking Castle.
Good. The crowds gone up. This is what I mean about we've always done. And if now we're moving Magic to a venue that maybe doesn't suit the majority of fans because there's money involved, then we need to be looking at the BBC deal and saying if we can get 50 quid more, then we're getting 50 quid more.
I don't want to
we're going
say,
somewhere else.
you know, because I've said some of Sky's coverage is perhaps, you know, needs to be refreshed. I think it'd be fair to say, and I don't like criticising other TV shows and whatever on this because people know, you know, we have our technical limitations here, whatever, but we're not on mainstream TV. One could argue that the Super League show as a programme has actually gone backwards from when it started because they used to have some fella on there actually saying controversial things, and now you just get two random people who say
it's
nothing.
out for tender,
We should put a bid in.
which
We've got
may
a camera.
again change the look.
You know, but again,
But I think
it's still gonna be
ultimately
nice.
we've got to decide what we want to be as a sport, and I would use Toronto as an example, that we have brought in something that can create interest in the sport outside of a rugby league audience. And as a sport, we haven't yet decided what we want out of Toronto or what we're asking Toronto to be or to do. I think their appointment of a new coach, which I think we may have hinted on here, is the missing piece of their jigsaw. I think that Brian McDermott will go back to some of the principles that he operated in London, but with resource this time. I think he'll also give them a mentality of winning the big games when they get to them and a game plan of winning those big games, which they haven't had. But we still haven't decided what we want Toronto to be. And if they got into Super League, what hurdles they would still have to get over. What is the overall development plan for teams that are not part of the traditional areas of the sport?
While I'm on this roll then, and talking about things, the Rugby Football League, Super League Europe, whoever is running the game, needs to say to our media partners, us, radio, be it national or local, the local newspapers are obviously having a bad time at the minute, and you know, solidarity with our friends who work at Johnston Press and whatever. Television, all media partners of our sport need to be told the message we want to get out, whatever that message is, so that we're not just portrayed as thick northern people playing rugby league that are not good enough to play rugby union or whatever. We need to knock on the head the comedy stylings that our sport sometimes has had, and again, this goes back to Eddie Waring's days, and we're going back to petitions on whatever, but we still got that image. We've got to knock on the head the nonsense lads banter culture that you know, the players need to behave better on social media because of this. We can't promote a sport where on one of the TV programmes we have, one of the key features is an ex-player going out and getting drunk and drinking pints really fast. What kind of image does that send out for our sport?
But what do we want to be?
We want to be
where do we see
seriously
ourselves
taken
in
sport.
5 years' time? Do we then accentuate the physical element of our sport? Is our USP more UFC than it is rugby union, who is now, I think, bringing in a cup competition where no tackling is allowed above the shoulder? So they are consciously moving away from the physical element of rugby, which might make more people take it up. But do we then say, as a sport, we are now going to market ourselves as being the alternative to that? That we have physical contact first and foremost. Get away from all this family game nonsense, greatest game nonsense. Let's sell it as the toughest collision sport in the world and be proud of what we do.
We promote the physicality and we promote the skill. And we promote people like Scully. And we promote the players of today who are those stars we need to promote.
But how do you do that when Tommy Makinson, who's just been voted the best international player in the world, is not going to be seen on home shores for another 2 years? What other sport would do that?
Was it last year when it came out that we were paying certain players 20 grand or whatever? And without naming those players, so I don't want to name those players and blame them, it's not their fault. But where am I seeing these England internationals, one of whom didn't even get into the squad this time, where am I seeing them earning this extra 20 grand? They're not there.
Point.
They're not coming on this programme, are they? They're not on Blue Peter.
But we also know that wasn't the reason they were giving them money.
Well, I know that, and you know that, and we all know that.
But that's what I mean about what do we decide what we want to be?
We're living in an era where, more than ever, well, probably not more than ever, is it? But in the modern era where people believe what they want to be told on social media and whatever, and that's why people believe the Championship League One should be on TV, because people are selling them a dream that isn't there. And we need to be realistic. There's nothing about negativity. We have to be realistic, and we have a product in Super League with big clubs, with big names who we can sell to people. But all too often, I think you've used this phrase yourself, Phil, is a race to the bottom. We have to look after the bottom end of the sport, and with the best way in the world, and we kind of briefly touched on it earlier, we can't always save clubs at the bottom end of the sport who enough people care about.
Look, in football, and people say, oh, you talk about other sports. If you just don't try anything different or look at other things, how are you going to ever improve what you do in the world? Exactly. But looking at football, we could go out and buy Hare Hills United and say, right, what are we going to do? In 20 years, we're going to be in the Premier League. We're going to break open your piggy bank, Phil, and we're going to bankroll this and get out. And we'll go out of the divisions, and the goal, ultimately, is that one day we'll get the Football League, and then we'll play Leeds United, whatever, and that's the aim. People are going about amateur rugby, and I know it's good. I watch it. By the way, my grassroots club, Birkinshaw, need a coach. Legend. Are you available? Don't think there's any money in it for you, but you might get some budding talent. Got 6 junior teams there. They need a good hand. If you know anyone,
Gallon and Pine Peas, after they'll do.
Well, you might be on there. You might have just sold yourself out. But if amateur rugby league is as great as everyone says it is, why are then players not playing professional? And what is the difference between playing in the conference and playing in League One? You play on a weekend, you're giving up your weekend, you train 3 times a week. I'm sure the lads at Wigan St Pat's train just as hard as the lads at Coventry or whatever. Mm-hmm. So why isn't that pathway open to say, well, if you are good then, and then as Rich says, you get a club like Keighley, and I don't want you to comment on it, Gary, because you've got a vested interest in what's going on there. Well, if they are to be saved, then bring someone in that can.
I use an example.
Take their place, like a Wigan St Pat, and if we can get in, or whatever it is, I'm not bothered. That we've got a constant thing. And then, as you said, instead of racing to the bottom, we're saying, well, actually, if you're not good enough, it's time you let someone else have a go. This is
one of the stipulations about whatever League One South or Premier South might be. They want to know what the pathway is through into the semi-professional game. But at what point do you also open that pathway up to community clubs that are currently playing in the National Conference League?
This is what I mean,
it doesn't fit together.
Is that
Nothing
time,
fits together.
like you said, as part of the overall thing, we start saying to clubs, if you've got the chance, you can come in.
Well, I could tell you, Hunslet Parkside this year, who went, 23, 24 teams unbeaten. And I say I've watched League One all this season, obviously Keighley being involved at Keighley. I would have said Parkside, certainly on the home fixtures, they would have beaten most of the southern sides, without a shadow of a doubt from there. Keithley going there, maybe Doncaster, whatever teams near us, they may have struggled from there. So there is quality out there in the amateur game, and I totally buy into what you're saying. If you've had a go and you ain't showing it, give somebody else an opportunity. It is. There is plenty of quality players in the amateur game, but unfortunately, Matt, as I mentioned on the show when Cookie was on, this pathway, to the professional game. Well, when you look at the it's not the academies, it's the scholarships. The scholarship should be abandoned, and it should go back to where it was back in what it was from my day. The amateur game, you can't sign until you're 17, 18 years of age. You achieve everything what you want to achieve, because this scholarship, it just totally messes them up. Simply, it does it. It messes them up. It messes them up there, and everybody will say that. And Tommy Marty said it a hell of a lot, and I think Sean Long and Schoolform as well, and all this sort of thing. The scholarship has been an absolute disaster. So the pathway has to be thought of different. And Alex Walmsley, I keep mentioning Alex. Alex was told, and as I say, I went to 3 clubs, as I said before, because he hasn't come through a system. He's too old at 19 years of age. Absolutely ridiculous. So the pathway from becoming a professional player and then building up, becoming a Super League player and an international like Walmsley did, is not there anymore. It's not there because they're not given an opportunity. The pathway is all wrong. It needs changing.
Sadly, in whatever sport, clubs die. I was there at the final ever match of Wakefield's Rugby Union Club, who've been established for 100 years or whatever. But when push came to shove in 2002 or whatever it was, 3, 4, and Bradford pulled out their money, ironically, there wasn't the interest there in the city to keep it going. And I can't remember great arguments at Twickenham to keep Wakefield Rugby Union Club alive, despite the fact there were very well-meaning volunteers there and people, lost their Saturday afternoons of fun.
Well, the very first team that won the first Northern Union Championship, Manningham.
Yeah, it switched.
Became Bradford City.
Yeah.
Broughton Rangers, who were one of the powerhouses of the sport in the early years. How long have we spoken about getting a presence in Manchester? Broughton Rangers was that presence in Manchester.
Yeah.
They're not there anymore.
Well, when we talk about pathways then, so we mentioned earlier that we're going to see whose season we're going to end over the first week in November, by doing the predictions.
Well, we will. Get the betting. We'll get the betting up for the championship.
Has it already come out? Has it?
Toronto are the 6-4 favourites to win the grand final. Widnes were next at 5-2.
Grand final. Hold on. I thought it was promotion straight away.
No, they've got to have a grand final.
Against who?
Top 5 playoffs.
Yeah.
What in the championship?
Because God forbid that
I thought if you finish your top, you say promotion.
Hang on. So we're having a one-off match where promotion is going to be decided. People's livelihoods are on the line here. What kind of mental stress are we putting them through? I haven't thought this through. Where's the RLW, whatever they're called? I believe Writers and Broadcasters, not them. Where's the RLPA? Where are they now?
So, anyway, Toronto are the favourites. Is Brian Mack going to get them over the line?
You would say so. With the players, what they've got from there, I would imagine there'll be, a few different players. So, when we look at the Toronto, certainly, I don't think there was an issue with the style of play. It was just the discipline what cost them. So I would imagine McDermott will bring that discipline in there for them, and just that missing ingredient what didn't get fair play to London. London were outstanding. They fully deserved to beat Toronto that night. But you just feel as though with McDermott bringing that discipline in from there, getting the best out of the quality players, and certainly on the big match occasions, he knows what it's all about. The history of what he's got. There's no two ways about that. So. You'd have to say yes, to be honest.
I think he's got a general as well in John Wilkin. I think he's got a guy that.
Where will he play Wilkin?
I don't think it matters. I think what it is
if Matt Dermott will say to him, please, John, don't kick the ball. Do you think he'll get away with it?
I think he might in League One every so often.
I'm all about Matt Dermott.
No, I think he might get away with kicking it every so often.
Do you reckon?
Yeah. But I think Joe Mellor's a great signing. Albiston's a great signing. I just think the difference with Wilkin is that he will bring to that dressing room an element of professionalism that will be McDermott's general. So I think they are rightly favourites.
You're not going to tell me he's going to play number 6 for later?
I mean,
if he's going to be the general.
If you look at Toronto's squad
just
now,
to annoy
you. This is something that Brian Carney mentioned as well. When he looked at their squad for the £1 million game, the amount of I can't remember if this word, it was his word or Ross Heppenstall's word, but the amount of journeymen in that team, as you said before, the fact that they're now signing players. Wilkin has been there and done that, but
somebody else using my saying.
I know, but likes of Tom Albertson, who are hungry
good
players.
Player, Thomas
exactly,
Alberson.
Yeah,
Thomas
well, Ricky Lutelli as well should be a fabulous player in that division. Perhaps if they get him the ball.
Some players who were paid a lot.
Is he? Yeah, is he still there? The number 6. What's his name?
Macron.
Yeah, is he still there? Matt Dermott's got to give him a rattle, hasn't he? He's
Where's
got
Ryan-
to give him a rattle.
Where's
surely.
Ryan Briley? Where's Ryan
Eh?
Briley?
Ryan, he's staying
Is he staying?
at
Who
the
is?
moment.
Until
Ryan
Paul Riley
Briley.
gets another club.
Who's staying?
Ryan Briley.
Oh, is he?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, right.
At the moment, he's back in pre-season
Yeah,
training.
17's agent tweeted.
So hold on, fella. So I just thought it was straight promotion from there. So is it top?
Top 5, same as Super League.
Yeah, so Toronto 6-4 to win the grand final, Widnes 5-2, Toulouse 6-1, Bradford 8-1, Fev 12, Halifax 16-1,
Oh, I'm going to have more money on Halifax. than
York
Bev, sure.
20, Lee 25, Barrow hundreds, Batley hundreds, Dewsbury Sheffield hundreds, Rochdale 250. Interestingly, Swinton suspended betting. So
What does that mean?
So
Somebody's had a grand on Swinton.
someone's just had $500,000 on Swinton.
Well, I'll tell you what.
Or
I'll tell you
they've
what.
been
Do-
kicked
do you
out.
know-
I'm not
do you
sure
know- Do
which.
you know who will give that league a rattle next year? York. No
You
two
think?
ways about it. Oh, without a doubt. They'll make the home games.
What about Halifax?
Oh, York, I'm telling you, they'll make the home grounds a fortress without a shadow of a doubt. And on the road, you know, because he's a good coach, he's Ford, he gets the best out of his players, he plays the right way. But as I say, York will give that league a
I
rattle.
think,
next
I
year.
think it'll be
There
a
you go.
transitional year for them. I think they'll need to find their feet in that division.
Phil, I don't see it being an issue. I reckon
But,
York will make the 5.
All right, go on then.
I
Who
do.
would be a 5B then?
Yeah, obviously you go to Toronto, you look at Widnes.
What about Widnes? Why are Widnes going to
Yeah.
be a shoe-in?
Kieran Purtill, good coach.
I'm not saying he's not a
A
good
lot,
coach.
lot of good young players that they managed to retain. Hungry players.
Yeah.
Players that they bought through their system.
They need some tough asses
Yeah,
in League
I
One.
can see him getting in the top
Championship.
5. I don't think I wouldn't have them a second, but I can see him in the 5.
Yeah, I'll go Toronto, Toulouse, Widnes, York, Halifax. My top 5.
So no Bradford,
No Bradford.
no Featherstone.
No. Too much disruption at
How,
Featherstone.
how can Fev be a shorter
No.
price than Halifax when they might not have a coach?
Well,
Well, who are they going to get as coach now? And turn the players, they're all back in
Paul
pre-season.
Rowley.
training. It's a rate mess.
Paul Rowley.
It's left it in right.
get John Sharp back.
Paul Rowley.
Sean Wayne.
Sean Wayne. Paul Rowley. Any other coach you can give? Your man from Keighley.
Lingard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Barrow fella.
Paul Cleary.
Signed a new 2-year deal.
I don't know any of the names of people.
He's
Okay,
just signed us.
remember
He'd
that.
do a good job with Paul Cleary. Don't worry about that. He would.
There you go.
So that's my top 5 anyway. But
Leon
York,
Price.
Some out Campbell.
York will give that a real rattle next year, without a shadow of a doubt. They will.
Toulouse. Making good signings. Experience from last year will be in their favour.
Yeah, I think 6-1 is a decent price.
What, to win the grand final?
Yeah, I do. I think it's a good price.
Witness are their own name alone, aren't they? That's the
Yeah, I
this
think that
basically-
price is
I
ridiculous.
I think the price, but I'd have them in the 5. I think they'll
Oh,
finish
yeah,
in the
I
top
think,
5.
Oh, you're talking about the top 5, aren't we? That's what you're on about, aren't we? Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Who
not
would
my
you
words.
have, Phil? Who would you miss out then on that?
I think you would have Toronto, Toulouse, Widnes, Halifax would be 4 of the 5. I think the 5th position is really interesting and open. I think that there is good. The good thing by dropping it to 5 is I think that keeps a lot more teams in that division interested. The problem last year with everybody saying the championship was the best it's been, it was 2 championships, and the teams in the bottom half were never going to challenge to be
No.
in the top. I do think it's a rebuilding year for Lee. I do think it's a finding your feet year for York. I think Bradford won't try and run before they can walk. I'd be surprised.
You
if
sure?
Yeah, I think if they can consolidate themselves as a championship team, almost double their attendance by being in that division, I think they would be happy. They're a team that could well finish 5th, I think, and be in the playoffs. But establishing yourself and not being worried about the bottom end of the table is the first priority.
The Bulls have a massive advantage then because they get an extra home fixture at the Summer Bash. Or the Spring Bash.
I put out a poll
That
earlier.
can't be true.
75% of people said that Blackpool's better than Bradford.
Well, I mean,
God, I
in
knew
fair-
Bradford were bad, but I didn't realise they were that
I mean,
bad.
in fairness, there's all those tap machines and arcades in
Mark,
In
how,
Bradford.
Mark, how,
Bradford.
can,
In
how, can
Bradford.
he, how can he complain about that?
What?
Blackpool's far better than
It's
Bradford.
got donkeys, not just playing for the Bulls.
Hey, how can he complain at that?
Tower. What's Tower in? What's in Bradford? I can go paying.
Where would you rather go for a night out, Blackpool or Bradford?
I mean, in fairness, you live there, so it'd be easier.
I live in Bradford. I haven't been to Bradford for years, so you're asking the wrong person.
What,
It
what,
can't
do,
go to
what do our
I
great
go to
public
Belle Isle
think?
more than I go to Bradford. That's how bad Bradford is.
That's a bit harsh.
We've had quite a bit of discussion about
Yes.
Go on then.
Go on then.
Throw it
So
open.
here's Neil. Bash should never be going to Odsal. It's a disgrace. Seems like a way. It's conspiracy theory time. Seems like a way the RFL can give Bradford some money. It should be at a neutral venue. If this isn't possible, then York, a vibrant city whose team is on the up.
Yeah.
Why would? And it's the same as people saying about Liverpool. You're not going to go to Liverpool for a weekend, are you? If you live in Wigan, Warrington.
You might go to York.
Yeah,
you
you
might.
go.
You might
Yeah,
go
yeah,
to
yeah.
York.
Oh, you
Yeah,
could.
you might go to York.
York's like Blackpool. There's lots of things to do there if you're not a rugby league. But if you're the rugby league person in the family, you can sell a weekend in York, can't you?
Yeah.
I know there's a media museum in Bradford, and there's theatres and stuff, and there's some shops, but there's not that, you know.
Bradford's a dump route. Don't bother.
Well, I don't know.
There's a
Don't
fountain.
bother.
How
There's that big
far's
hole,
Kingston Park from the centre of Newcastle?
Quite a way out.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
Quite a way out.
So
I
that
don't
will be
see
the
that as a
downside
venue.
of
Yeah.
being
It's a great venue.
But
in a
but
great city,
you're gonna
but they're
be
not next to each other.
minimum 10
15
quid out of
minutes.
town.
Yeah, 15 minutes, aren't you?
in a taxi. How many taxis are you going to get? It's in the middle of a housing estate. It's a great ground,
gotta
but
be
it's
York.
not the
For
right
the Bash,
venue.
it's got to be York. Simple as that. You know.
but as we
I'd
said,
say over in York.
but as we said before, though, we're discussing the merits of the Magic Weekend and what is it for. Why are we having the Summer Bash when the
Well-
numbers have gone down last year? Because there was no. I know there's Bradford and Widnes in it this year in the league. You've got 3 clubs who've got a fairly decent following, haven't you? And it's not a knock on the teams that, you know.
No,
haven't got lots
no,
of
but we had a great tweet. We had a great tweet in it. Oh, Kieran. Happy days. A chance to play Dewsbury for the 4th time in a year. 8 miles away from our own ground. Sounds unmissable.
4th, 14th, by the time you played them in the Yorkshire Cup, Boxing Day,
Boxing Day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
6 times in loop fixtures.
Yeah, well, there you go. So Kieran's hit the nail on the head there.
but it is.
Will you be staying overnight, Kieran?
But isn't
Only if he's in Bridewell.
isn't the issue about Sky though? The only championship rugby that Sky religiously put out every year, because it's relatively cheap from a production point of view, is the Bash. So if the Bash has to exist on the basis of the fact that it suits the principal broadcaster, and a lot of the people objecting are saying, but we need more championship rugby on telly.
Okay.
You have to have the Bash, don't you?
But-
There is a reason for having it.
But-
But if you have it in the right venue,
Yeah.
you will get more
I
people.
know Blackpool was empty for a lot of the. Am
but
I the
you-
only person who was at all 4? Well, apart from the Dewsbury.
But we said it when you came back.
Yeah.
If you're going to have the Bash,
Have it.
don't have anything else that weekend.
Well, yeah.
If you're going to have Magic, don't have anything else that weekend.
And
If you're going to put Super League fixtures on at the same time as the Bash is on, you may as well have it in our back garden.
At least in Blackpool, the ground's in a nice location. It's a 5-minute walk from the front or whatever. There's plenty of things to do. They can go back out and back in and come back and watch Dewsbury battle and think, oh, we should have stayed on the bloody front. But at least there, you can sell it as a weekend. I know no one went, and this is why I've said before, you know, if we're going to have it, we'll have it in Blackpool or don't bother. Just say it is a weekend away for people. Fine.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
I
you know,
think
why bother?
you've got to listen to the coaches and the players as well. That they like the Bash because they're on telly. They're not on telly any other week. It feels different because they turn up in a coach.
And
You know,
this is-
it's almost like being in a cup final,
Here's the
even
main
though there
thing.
are 2 league points at stake. So there are some very good reasons to keep the Bash.
At least Blackpool looks like a modern stadium. And I know.
Well, it is.
I
It's
know,
a nice
you know,
ground.
throwing
It's a nice
stones
ground.
out
Pitch was
over
awful,
Bellevue.
wasn't it?
But I know got a Bellevue.
Well, it's all right because if we throw it back, we won't break any windows at Bellevue.
But you know, it's Bradford. We go there. It's like the whole with the Test match thing. We go there anyway. Oh, hey, look, let's go to Bradford.
It comes back though what we said
who owns
earlier.
the
What
ground
is the
at
point?
Bradford?
What is the point?
Be cheap hire of the ground though, wouldn't it?
And if it rains,
Well, that's what
No.
people have said.
I
If
can
it rains-
imagine. You know what I mean? If it rains, there's a great stand that holds 5,000. The corporate will be great. We know that. It's all that's great. But the ground is a
But it's not an event then, is it?
No.
It's not an event to say to people, come to our event.
no.
And
It's a non-starter. Bradford has got to be a non-starter.
And if we're serious about the players getting something out of the experience, going to a ground they already go to is not a great experience. So.
But it comes back to what is Magic, what is
Yes,
the Bash.
absolutely.
Do the
Decide what
Mario.
you want it to be,
Yeah. I
and
agree
then
with
the
that.
venue tends to sort itself out once you know what it is that you're trying to achieve.
Yeah.
And if you announce it long enough in advance, people will buy into it. But at the moment, We haven't had the fixtures for Championship League One. We don't know if the Bash is part of that, and we don't know where the Bash is going to be.
Isn't that part of the problem with Magic? And I know people say Anfield's crap, I've not sat in the seats there, so it's a bit unfair.
Yeah, but I don't hear 40,000 Liverpool fans complain.
Well, no, but am I going to? Should we go early on the Sunday and watch Salford versus Hull KR? No disrespect to either team, but I'm not, am I? So we got rid of the Hull derby, and I know we've said before there's too many Hull derbies, but LFC versus Huddersfield.
It's been done fairly on the draw. You can't quit if those fixtures aren't good enough. That's a damning indictment of the competition, not of the organisation.
If it was more the NRL and that every team could beat every other team, it doesn't matter what.
No, you're not bothered, are you?
No.
So,
and you see, I think, and I've said it before, Nottingham is a great venue for rugby league. It's just far enough away to make a weekend of it. It's a party destination. It's somewhere where you could go and play rugby league. And perhaps start and leave a legacy in the Midlands for players that are trying their hardest to keep the game going there. If you announce 6 months in advance that the Bash was going to be in Nottingham, people would buy into that.
Sid says move it to Toronto. It will be a sellout.
Sid sent a very good reply to my Blackpool Bradford tweet, but sadly for legal reasons I can't read it out.
At least with Bradford you could go on a tour of the set of Rita Sue and Bob too.
You can't. It's been knocked down.
Has it been knocked down?
Yeah, after it's been knocked down.
One of the other things that Rob Elston said was
Lane.
He was wanting Toulouse potentially as a venue for Magic.
It's a bit foreign, that.
Okay.
What about Dublin?
Dublin's a great idea, provided you give people enough notice.
Right. I think we've put out some tweets earlier regarding who do we think is going to win.
Yes.
Various things.
Right.
We've asked Scully. He says Toronto are going to win. I'll get promoted. What about Super League? Who's going to come top of the pile and who's going to win it, do you think, Ledge? Bearing in mind that because it's a top 5 again, there's actually a bit more incentive to finish first now. It's not the old, it's a hubcap, we don't want it. It's actually we need to finish first.
You know what? In 19, it is going to be Warrington's year.
Most people are saying St Helens.
It's going to be Warrington's year.
They have recruited though, haven't they? So
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
They've got rid of the worst marquee signing the league's ever had.
They've recruited very well, and they say Blake Austin. I'm pretty excited about seeing him. Not just seeing him play, but also as well. I've read his piece in the League Express, Mark. To be honest with you, and he's coming with the right attitude. I'm reading what he's saying there, and if he's saying how he's going to address IE from a point of view, he's not come over here for a holiday. He's not thinking about going back to NRL. He's signed a 4-year deal. He wants to put his mark down, not just for Super League, but also too for Warrington. So if he can just give them that 5% extra, what they have been missing, I think Warrington will finish top, and I think it's going to be Warrington's year next year. So if we can get Steve Price on, like we had Justin Holbrook, they'll do the treble. Pricey, you're doing the double. You've heard it from the legend. You're doing the double, Warrington.
If he gets that was somewhere else.
They did the double this year, and they'd lost in both finals.
I almost heard Steve Price fall off his chair. And
he's not punching the air.
He's gone off. God's sake!
All the Warrington fans are doing
cancel pre-season training. No point.
Don't bother coming
Come
in.
on, it's a bit harsh. Phil, cancel pre-season training. Come on.
Go on then, Phil. Where are you going?
I actually do think that Justin Holbrook may not admit it publicly, but I think he got it slightly wrong last year.
Slightly?
That he didn't use enough players. He didn't. I don't think he fully understood the rigours and demands of the season here, and you've got to do it on 2 fronts. That will stand him in excellent stead. I think he is still the excellent coach that we thought he was up till 2/3.
Not question mentality at Saints.
No, I think that
winning the big games.
No, I think they're bringing in 3 players who will give them that. I think that they
sign well, haven't they? They sign well.
And they've signed a couple of really good youngsters as well, who I think will come along in the midst of time. I think Alex Walmsley potentially coming back is huge for them as well, because what we forget is that he didn't play at all last year, to all intents and purposes. And I think the fact that they will be really hurting that they didn't even make the grand final, that they didn't even make the Challenge Cup final, that they were told from the outside that they disrespected the League Leaders' Shield by not celebrating that. If you need fire in your pre-season, that's it. And I think that there was a lot of focus on Ben Barber, who was brilliant for 7/8 of the season. But I think what they've now got is a deeper squad without an absolute superstar in it, and that will work for them. So
Okay.
I think that I'm going to go Saints. Yeah.
All right, Rich.
I think Saints. I want to say Warrington, but they always lose. But as I said a few weeks ago, I think the big outsiders would be the Catalans because they've won their first piece of silverware this year.
They brought in the man you threw across the room.
Sam Tompkins, he's there. The rectum of what's rectum in French? Do we know? Or Catalan? They've got a big game coming up in Barcelona. I think it's going to be a big year for the Catalans. Watch them all fall apart.
What about Matty Smith? Good sign.
Experience, fresh. Didn't play much last year.
Take over.
Is he an upgrade on Drinkwater or not? And
Well,
there's a question. You can answer that. You're a world quality half-back. Who would you rather pick, Drinkwater or Smith at this time?
Drinkwater.
Is Matty Smith not? He's a good player, and I mean, when Wigan got to the grand final of the year, I think it was single-handedly on his back.
Well, I've read Matty Smith's piece again in the League Express. He wants to bring that winning mentality, but I don't think it's all about the winning mentality. It's just that lacking that bit of quality. And if I'm honest with you, Drinkwater would bring that extra quality than what Matty Smith would do.
Kenny Edwards not coming back.
Is he not?
Rumoured to be going to Manly.
Is he? Well, that's a big loss.
But Matt Whitley is a good signing.
He's not Kenny Edwards though.
No.
And that's not a disrespect, because I said last year I was amazed no one took Whitley. He's a very good back rower, but he's
Same as
not a
Alderson.
destructive. He's not a destructive Kenny.
Well, that's a big
Edwards.
loss, and it's Kenny Edwards. He's a massive.
I'm just not sure consistently they can do it.
I think they can make the 5. I think the 5 works for them.
Yeah, okay.
I
Go on then.
Well,
Sorry.
no, I'm just thinking they're an outsider. I think with Wigan's changes, Leeds are obviously going to be better than they were last year.
No one's mentioned Castleford.
Well, the biggest signing Castleford have made this winter is Rhiannon Marshall, and she can't play in Super League. She's been
No.
good Super League.
can she not play that?
Well, I don't know.
Can I just mention that and say with Catalan, just with the Matt Smith situation, when he signed for St Helens, can you remember the sort of style of St Helens play? It was all a matter of like the Wigan philosophy, playing behind, and Matty was waiting till the last tackle to create something from a kicking game. He's got to get himself more involved, with the ball in hand, and instead of waiting for things to happen, he's got to make things happen. He can't just keep waiting for the last tackle and just play on field position and hoping to play off back of mistakes.
But can he allow Tony Gigo to do that and Sam Tompkins to do that?
Yeah,
maybe
that's
he can
my. Is he going to be that?
I think he will. Just
I
be
don't
the
want to use the
brains
word
behind
boring.
the
That's
operation.
really horrible.
No.
But the steady in hand.
He
just
needs
says,
to get them where
right,
they
lads,
need to be. Yeah.
Just let's get down.
I don't think I think if the Catalans play boring rugby league, that'll stifle him.
I'm not
I
saying
don't
it
think
will.
they're
No,
though.
boring.
he's just the one who
Gets them to where they need to be.
Yeah. Speaking of Castleford, John Wells, erstwhile TV personality and director of rugby.
Has he emailed it
Well, no, but he's released a statement.
saying
As it stands, this is the story on the Castleford Tigers website. The Tigers have yet to recruit in the off-season, which of course is a lie, as we just mentioned. But
Rhiannon Marshall's a big sign.
it's a big sign to leave late. She was the crucial player in that grand final.
England international.
The signings of Liam and Peter, that's as in Matafia and Watts, were considered and thought out, says John Wells, and the club paid significant transfer fees to do our business. They have added a great deal to this squad, and with the benefit of a full pre-season in our environment at Castleford, we're confident that we will continue to step up in 2019, especially when you add in the ongoing development of players like Jake Truman, the reigning Super League Young Player of the Year. We are working within the constraints of a salary-capped sport, and you've seen a number of key players such as Jake sign new and upgraded contracts, and that consistency in the squad can be a real strength. There certainly won't be wholesale changes, and the emphasis right now is finding possibly one more addition if we can. So that sounds to me like there's not many people coming in.
We made the point, and I spoke to an agent in the game who said that when Castleford started to get good, they had in effect a £2.5 million squad for £1.5 million, which meant that guys like Mike McMeekin and the younger
Paul
fellas
McShane.
all would need a significant upgrade, and then their big challenge would be who do they let go to in order to keep two to get rid of one. And it's an interesting point. I thought they got the recruitment a bit wrong last year, if I'm honest. That you look back at it, and I think you could point the finger at a few that maybe haven't worked out. And I think the fact they haven't there's no bigger advocate of Cass than me. Desperately wanted to win the grand final this year, but I think they might struggle.
There's one thing missing from that statement, and obviously I haven't read it all, just heard it for the first time then, but there have been a couple of players leave. Jake Webster's gone. Jai Hitchcock's gone.
Yeah.
So there should be space, you would have thought, to bring in.
Yeah, but they've just upgraded
Yeah,
players.
but
That's going to take that money, is it?
I wouldn't have thought all of it. And don't you have to bring in the odd?
And didn't they have to get rid of Jai Hitchcock's to get in Metaltia?
Yeah.
So they've already done that business, haven't they?
Yeah.
You'd have thought there would be. You'd need at least one fresh face, don't you?
Well, I'll tell you who I'm my top 5.
Is Luke?
Next year.
No, again, Luke Gale is going to be really important. Will he come back fit?
I'm sure it will. He's had a really unlucky year, hasn't he? Big injuries. Well, that's like saying, will Callum Watkins come back fit?
But you don't know. You don't know until you see them out there.
Yeah, he will do. He will do. Yeah, but so my top 5 for next year.
In order or just
in order? Warrington, Saints, Catalans,
third,
Wigan, Leeds.
No Huddersfield, have you been big enough? No Castleford, no Hull.
Oh, Hull, no. Forget about Hull. Castle, you just mentioned from there. I just feel as though everybody might have.
Did you not mention Wakefield?
May have worked him out.
No Waking.
No.
So you think Wakefield are going to go backwards with Donnybrook? Because they finished 5th. So the thing about it is, they bought Donnybrook to get into the playoffs. Well, actually, the last 2 years they would have been in the playoffs if we had a top 5. So you don't think they're going to be in the top 5?
As I said when they were interested in Donnybrook, and now they have signed Danny, and I've read what Chester's saying there, and yeah, he will talk well and whatever, but as our great colleague there, Matt Wilson, says, when it comes to the crunch, will Danny deliver? And I just feel as though, again, with the dressing room, and I know people say, oh, you've only picked Leeds because you're an ex-Leeds player. I haven't picked Leeds for that, because I feel as though now, the creativity what we're looking for in that half-back, a big centre what we're missing there. We've re-signed the 2 Warriors in Ablett and JJB. They know what it's all about. Murray's being brought in from there. I think we're going to play, if I'm honest with you, maybe a type of boring game under Ferner.
No.
Well, you might know.
Well, hold on then. Is the squad good enough at Leeds? Because I don't think they've got a deep enough squad. I think that's been proven year in, year out in the last 2 years, 3 years.
Year, with the signings what they brought in, and certainly people might say, well, sign Ablett again and JGB for 2
I get that. You need. They'll do your job.
They know what it's all about from there, and I say we're bringing this kid in from Tonga from the half back up, that combination with Myler. And McClellan from there, and Murren. Yeah, I think Leeds.
McClellan's not going to play. He's not going to play.
I think Leeds have got the quality, so that's my 5. Yeah.
I think McClellan's going to play in the England
so
academy game against
when I was saying Leeds maybe playing a boring side of the league. How are they going to play them?
When David Ferner did his first interview,
right,
that question was asked about the style that he would play. He was the attack coach for South, and they finished with the most points.
But now he's not an attack coach. He's
I think he is taking in that style. They are going to play attack. They've got a 2-pronged centre partnership that if they can get the ball to them in promising positions, they're going to be virtually unstoppable. So I think they've deliberately bought Conrad Hurrell to be the kind of exciting attacking team that you would hope they would be.
It's great. To be fair, they've signed some really good players. We can't not. I mean, as much.
Well,
as
they've gone from quite rightly being criticised for not signing a marquee player to signing 2.
But you're telling me last year Mitch Garbutt's their best forward when fit. They've got rid of him to bring in another one. That ain't. Well, yeah, it's strengthening. You say to a certain degree, but it's not beefing up your squad, is it?
I think again with their top 17 out more regularly than they were last year.
You just play a big part.
But I think there are certain years where you get more than your share.
Yeah, but on that basis, Cass and Wigan last year got hammered. Well, if they have a good year, then what happens then?
I think Leeds will be fighting for a top 5 spot.
So what's your top 5, Mark?
Absolutely, top 5.
Warrington, Saints. I wrote Wigan off last year and got hammered for it, but they have lost too many good players, and they haven't as yet replaced them. They're not spending any money. People can say what they want about Sam Tompkins. He was one of the best players in Super League by a mile.
John Bateman and Ryan Sutton,
one of the best players. Sean O'Loughlin signed a new deal. He's 36 years old this week. He's playing less and less and less, and I still maintain that Sean. How many times did he play for Wayne that next year he might go, you know what, sod it. I've been here all my career. If I'm not fit,
I'm going on the
if
coaching
I'm not fit,
staff.
I'm not playing. He might do that. I might be speaking badly out of turn. I just think if you take him, Bateman and Tompkins out, that is too much.
So they're not making the 5?
They don't make the 5 for me.
Right. So you've got Warrington
Cue all
Saints.
you don't like Wigan.
So you've got Warrington Saints.
Warrington Saints, I think Wakefield will definitely be in the top 5 this year. Definitely. If they stay lucky with injuries. You could say that about any club.
So again, they're putting low. They're expecting big things on Broughy. You've said it many times.
No, I've said it. You know what? He
You've
had
said
his
it many
feet
times.
and I've went on social media when they signed him. Said I've been his biggest critic, and I remain his biggest critic because I'll ask the question. And I'd ask Danny to his face. How many big games did you in Huddersfield, Danny, in the last 5 years?
So
the answer's not many.
So what will change
He
at
will
Wakefield?
win because he's a man with a point to prove, and we know what he's like when he's got a point to prove.
First year at any club, he's
He will
always
be
a galvanising
magnificent.
factor.
He will be magnificent. He's not a 5-year signing. He's a 1, maybe 2-year signing to get Wakefield where they need to be. And you know what? I credit Wakey. They've highlighted we need to be better in that area, and we're going to go. And it'll cost them some money or
And they've
whatever.
got competition for places now in
And
the halves.
and they've gone for it. And I think keep them fit. I think their pack is fantastic. I think they'll make the 5. I think the other 2 places are only 2 of 6. I honestly wouldn't like to say.
The worry
I
for
worry
me
about
is Hull.
Cass.
I worry about
Cass.
Hull.
I've said, someone asked me who do you think's going to win. It's mentioned all. I went, no chance. I think they'll be in the bottom 4 all. I just think, and people go, whatever. They had a lot of injuries. Yeah, they did. Yeah. So what? Yeah, they were rubbish. Like you don't lose 11
They've got
games.
to change the style of play, Hull. That's for sure.
Yeah,
One of
You've
the
not
things
mentioned
they've got to
Salford.
do.
Salford, I think, will be in the bottom 2.
Well,
Because they're going to be
Even
another
with
one.
Jackson Hastings.
No, they'll have a great side. But again,
no depth.
no depth.
it won't be a great side. I mean, it's a good side, not
No,
a
I
great
mean,
side.
they've got some Louis and I'm not being rude. Louis and Hastings will probably get in majority of Super League teams. They're good players. But whereas I thought last year when they brought them in, they were running out of bodies. I mean, there were 2 masterstrokes bringing the Lussick and who is it in Hastings. But I think short term it works. I think long term it doesn't.
So who's your bottom then? You're
It's
only
going
left
to be
with Hull
London,
KR.
London and I think it'd be London and
We've not
and
mentioned
Salford.
London.
London
Supposedly
London-
announcing a signing tomorrow.
Yeah, they need to spend some money. I hope they don't go down, but they're going to be right in the mix. Let's be fair. They're the new boys in town. It's going to be a struggle. We know how it works, but I hope they can. I hope they get off to a good start and pick up some wins. But they're going to have to do some business. We're doing it now. The teams could be different in 2 months. We don't know.
Well,
do
we'll
we?
go back and
We'll
do
do
it
it again next
too.
week,
But
Yeah, but my point. But so they're my bottom. They'll be my bottom 2. I think Hull KR are actually
I
recruiting
think they're
pretty
doing
well. I think Hull KR. Well, I'll tell you what. Hull KR will finish above Hull in the Super League, in my opinion, this year.
It wouldn't be
Can we-
surprised.
Can we have
I
that as
think
a
they
double?
will.
Hull can finish above Hull FC and Wakefield to finish above Cats.
You know what? If you offered me that now, I
Let me
would,
go
I
on
would
the,
take that. And
hashtag
how
Euros.
passionate I am about it. I want
Got
Cass. I wanted
responsible.
Cass to win it last year. I just look at the lack of recruitment, and it's that ability to win the big game.
See,
and you mentioned it. Saints have gone out and got some
Yeah.
big players.
I
that
don't mind lack of recruitment if you're building on the year before. But Cass actually didn't build on the year before last year. Now they had some very key injuries that hopefully those players will be
Yeah,
out
but they
there
still
from
got
the-
themselves into contention and still didn't win when they had to win. Now
So-
they were
so-
down on troops, but even the
So
players
how do you
themselves,
change that mentality
even the players
if you're not
themselves,
changing the players?
Even the players themselves said to me, "We don't know how to win big games." That was what the word was. And Daryl Powell went, "We need to change our mentality."
But how do you change your mentality if you don't change some of the players?
But have I just heard Mark Wilson, Richard Shawright say, wait for the finish above Cass next season?
Yeah, I've said that for
Yeah.
weeks.
Well, you're bonkers. You're
Why
both
that might
bonkers.
happen?
You're both.
I'm not saying they don't both make the 5, by the way.
Castleford will finish above Wakefield.
What about Huddersfield? No one's mentioned them.
Just again, it's a squad depth thing. That
I think he's trying to change too much straight away. I do.
No,
do.
again, what we do say
I
on
think
Rick
the honeymoon
Stone.
period, is finished now. And
Oh, they're finished.
let Bruffy go and Marmo.
they'll be fitter.
Do you know what? Can I let you know a little secret? It's my understanding that they let Bruffy go because all the players didn't want to play with him. That is my
Well,
understanding.
that's been the case for 2 years, hasn't it?
Well, therefore the coach has said, right, what
I like
needs to
that.
change? It's changing.
And I think if Ikehihifo stays, which I know that there was an economic imperative for them to
Move him on.
move him on. If nobody will come in from and match what he's on at the moment and he stays, then you have to then build your pack around him. But I think they'll be fitter. They'll be harder to break down because defensively I think that is exactly what Wolford will be working on throughout the entire. My worry is, injuries you cannot legislate for, but you've got to have a depth of squad. I think there's a big gap still between some of the very talented kids that they're bringing through and them being long-term Super League players. My worry for Huddersfield more than any other club, except maybe Salford, would be 3 or 4 injuries to some of your big name players, and there is nobody else to bring in.
So who's your top 5, Phil?
Again, you can't look past Warrington and Saints. I think Wakefield will be in there because I don't see their standards dropping. I only see them getting higher, and they were 5th for the last 2 years.
Yeah.
I think Leeds will be knocking on the door.
Catalans?
Yeah, possibly. My worry is Wigan, because every year we go, well, of course, this will be the year that Wigan will finish 6th, and Jake Shorrocks will get the number 6 shirt and have the wow of a season. I don't know. My worry for Wigan this year more than other years is I just don't know how the Adrian Lamb thing's going to work in the knowledge that Sean Edwards is coming the following year.
You've mentioned it without mentioning it about Wigan. You talk about attitude. Sean Wayne could have gone in the academy, the under-16s, and gone, right, lads, I'm picking a team on Friday. These are who we're playing, and you would be guaranteed a level of performance, whether it's the under-16, the under-19, or the first teamer. I think we underestimate, or we don't respect enough what Wayne did for that club. I think now he's gone. I think that we mentioned Tompkins and Bateman. Wayne's gone.
I think this year for Wigan it's a confusion year, isn't it? It's a confusion year. It is.
I agree.
Nobody knows how it's going to work out because of the big dilemma. Adrian Lamb, if he does the treble, he gets the sack. Replaced by
but what if it goes the other way and you lose a couple early on and you go in and there's a bit of a you're not doing it? He goes, well, hang on, you're not going to be in it.
You've got to factor in for Wigan the World Club Challenge.
Yeah.
Which again we all know takes it's massive, and they're playing an incredibly good Roosters team. Not that you ever get a bad.
The bonus is it's at home, I guess.
Yes,
rather than they don't
but
have to go away.
Trent Robinson will play that game the respect it deserves.
Yeah, they're coming to win, aren't they?
Yeah, and they'll bring all his big name players that are available. So, but that's something that you've got to prepare for, and you've got to come down from and build up again. So I think the year Wigan won the World Club Challenge, they never kicked on and won anything else that year. Could be the same.
Toby's asked if Wigan's big pre-season signing has made training today. I think we'd have heard if he hadn't.
But again, that's something that needs managing, isn't it?
Yeah, I think the fact we don't even mention.
Who's your 5, Rich?
Saints, Warrington, Leeds, Catalans, Perm, any one of the rest.
Wakefield. You must think Wakefield.
You're going for Leeds finishing the top 5 then?
I don't think they've signed the players they have not to finish in the top 5.
Yeah.
And I think one thing that, again, benefits Super League as a whole, which has been mentioned by people like Rob Elston, is the fact that if you can bring a Conrad Hurrell over, if you can bring a Trent Merrin over, then it's good for the competition.
Well, here's the other thing as well.
We're all going to want to see him in action, aren't we?
Well, and everybody's going to want to turn up to see them beaten, which is great.
South Stand fully open.
I'm looking forward to going to Headingley and watching it full when they play Wigan or a Saints. I can't wait. It'll be a special night.
We know about atmosphere.
It'll be a special night.
And in those facilities, when they're finished, they'll be fantastic.
Well,
honestly,
they'll look good on the telly.
It will look good on the telly.
Yeah, lots of
not good on the telly when they're only 11,000 there. The temporary stand, it still looks great at Headingley. Yeah, annoyingly.
I'm looking forward to going there Boxing Day when it's officially open, the South Stand.
The Weatherby Whaler
Boxing
Super
Day
Mega
morning.
Challenge.
Yeah.
Be on the pitch.
And we're having special Christmas kits this year, like we did in the past.
I wouldn't have thought so.
Is that pretty much it?
I think so, yeah, apart from
Scoyer, you who's getting relegated. Sorry.
Right, London.
Phil?
Yeah, it has to be.
Yeah, unfortunately so. Paul did ask a question. Can I ask Scoey why he didn't play in the last 2 tests of the 1988 series against Australia down under?
Depressed cheekbone.
There you go. There you go, Paul.
Came out early, didn't
you? Asked.
I did enjoy Ian's comment about the kind of people who run rugby league as a sport and exclusively. He says, where are the women and young people represented at board league? Barrow for 5th. Just get the prediction in there.
Barrow for 5th?
Barrow for 5th.
Well, I'll tell you what, if they keep up their home form, it was fantastic for a long part last year.
I think Newcastle are going to be a real threat in League One. I'm looking forward, Liam Finn directing them around and some of the signings that they're making. Missy Talapapa playing.
Yes.
Good for Newcastle. That's a big signing.
Will they be distracted by the 1895 Cup though and a chance of getting to Wembley?
And hosting the Bash?
Are they not in it? Are they not allowed in it?
We'll see.
Excitement.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to it.
Positivity.
Exactly.
But the season hasn't finished yet.
No.
We've got the Australian schoolboys coming over.
Someone did ask if there's anyone we need to look out for in that series from Australia.
Well, I think they've named their squad today, so we'll have a look for next. See if there's any
We'll have some Australians.
sons of famous players.
How come schoolboys want to come over and the kangaroos don't want to come over?
They're not
I'll
scared.
tell you.
They're not scared,
Because
Joey.
you're scared, big Mal.
Scared.
You're scared, big Mal. You're scared. You might have thrown like a ragdoll as an 18, but you won't do it now, I'll tell you, lad. You won't do it now, you're scared. Come and get your cheese.
I'm sure that's a euphemism for something.
Come and get your cheese. You big
When
Mal.
we said no more comedy in rugby league, we didn't mean this programme where we're exempt, you see. Someone's made. I don't know who's made this. Whoever's made this, thank you. I don't know what this programme has become. 4 years ago, we didn't know we'd be streaming rugby league. We didn't know what this programme would become, and now it's become a programme where we've got a desk and some beauty of rugby in. People do want us to play
And a
some
trophy.
rugby. You know what? I think that's what we might have to do for the Christmas special.
Are we doing it
Well,
at
people asked
10 o'clock at night?
People asked, "Are we going to be on? You know, are we on for the whole of the off season?" Yeah, we've got nothing else.
When
to do.
it's Christmas Day this year?
Well, it's a Tuesday, but Christmas Eve's a Monday, and it's my wedding anniversary, so I won't be here because I'll get shot. So we need to.
But we
record
could
a
record
Christmas
it.
special.
But are we doing it after 10 o'clock? It's going to be like the Derek and Clive version of
I don't think we can use
4020
those
Live.
words that Derek and Clive use. I mean, we'd like to about many people. Involved.
Should we do it drunk?
Yeah, I think so.
So is that we're going to
Yeah.
record it
Your
for
wedding's
Christmas?
anniversary, Christmas Eve. What made you get married on Christmas Eve?
Won't forget it.
The wife, probably.
I don't-
Ella, if you're listening.
You must have had more than two blue wickets to get married on Christmas Eve.
No,
Hey,
Jay,
you are
he wouldn't have meant it.
You
would
are
he?
bonkers.
He'd have had more than two. He wouldn't have
we
meant it.
won't be here on New Year's Eve either, but now we should record a bit of rugby match and put that out as one of our Christmas specials.
What of our live sports offering?
Yeah, we'll have a
Live stream.
we'll have a review of the year. Well, we got binned off from that job. We got binned off from that job. But now we don't.
We are the Brian McDermott of
No,
the radio
shop. There's no
world.
roof above us heads.
No.
And play some bit of rugby. I think that'd be good.
Yeah.
People say, "Oh, you
And then we'll face the nervous wait to see if our media passes will be
Well,
reviewed.
we're not going."
And then
to
the job might be completely knackered.
Am I getting one this year?
I
been
feel
asking
bad.
for
I feel
five.
bad enough applying for Richard. I don't even
I've
put
been
your
asking for
name
5
down.
years for a media pass.
Nah, it's part of the fun watching you get into these grounds when you ain't got a pass. I quite enjoy it, especially getting in the car park. Right, that's it. We've done. Thanks to everyone on YouTube. Thanks for all your comments. Thanks for you on Facebook. Thanks to everyone that's got in touch. Download the podcast. Thousands of you doing it every week now. We appreciate that, and we will be back next week. No rest for the wicked. We'll be back next week. Thanks to Gary. Thanks to Phil. And thanks to Rich. Thanks for you for listening. See you next week. Here we have the police squad moment where we don't do anything on YouTube, just in case it's still on. I'll press stop now, Rich.
Thank you.